I know Kung Fu.
Show me.
You are the new student. Come closer.
You're listening to the Kung Fu Podcast presented by James Still.
I don't care if it's Muhammad, Imard, Bruce Lee.
And Steve Newby.
This is the original Five Fingers of Death right here.
But my hands are registered as lethal weapons. That means we get into a fight, I accidentally kill you, I go to jail.
On 80.
Oh right, okay.
There you go. That's better. Is that better? That's better.
Yeah, that's yeah. How long
Jesus Christ.
How am I? All right.
But yeah, you're fine. Beautiful.
How am I looking?
Gorgeous. Excellent. Shit. Right, where are we? Hang on, let me get my show notes. Right, ready to go. Okay, we ready? You good?
Yeah. Good to go.
Okay, guys, welcome to another episode of the Kung Fu Podcast with me, James Still, and the notorious, the black sheep himself, Mr. Newbie. How you doing, Steve?
Yeah, I should have it. Yeah, I should have a name like that, shouldn't I? Really, like a wrestler.
That's it.
The black sheep. Yeah.
The black sheep.
Yeah. No one listens to a word I say until they realise it's right.
Oh, for
and
God's
then
sake.
They say they made it up.
Yeah. Oh, this is all true.
That's what used to happen to me a lot. That did. Yeah. Oh, it's a fact.
You're not,
who? Let me ask you this.
Go on.
Who organised the prices of the DVDs, right, so that they would sell better?
Hang on a second.
And
the DVDs, or are you talking
the
VHS?
BKFA, the BK. Oh, okay. Let's go back a bit. Who actually set up the first VHS video for the syllabus?
I'm gonna hazard a guess here. Was it you?
Yes, it was me. I had a student called Kevin.
Yeah.
Kevin Adams. But in the group called Dexys Midnight Runners,
yeah,
they called him Billy Adams.
Right.
He wrote, Come On Eileen and all that.
Listen, before you continue with this story, you're scratching and moving around and stuff.
Am I?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe it's... Sorry, I think my wires are catching my mic.
Yeah.
You know what I'm like with...
You're like a walking EMP, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. So, okay, so can I carry on?
Yeah, you can carry on now. Yeah, go on. You were telling us about the...
Yeah, so it's... Kevin Rowland was the main man of the group, I guess. He was a singer, and if anybody remembers... Come On Eileen. Yeah, that was a good rendition, that was, wasn't it?
It's just like it.
Yeah. Anyway, Kevin used to teach for me. Kevin Adams, Billy Adams.
Yeah.
Used to teach in Bridgnorth for me. He lived in Bridgnorth and did a lot of stuff. Yeah, and so I got him. He had a company doing videos and stuff, and before the days of DVD and and all that, and when and computers really. Yeah. And and he did the VHS first video.
It wasn't a bad, actually, badly put together first syllabus thing, really.
Yeah, there was just him, me, John Russell, and Mastio down at the centre. And we did the video of the first syllabus book. And then after that, well, then the reason I was, just going on, I was going to say to you who priced or got a better situation, so that the the DVDs would be sold better? Me.
Yeah.
Who changed the rules of the sticky hands in the Nationals to stop people just kicking each other in the groin and poking each other in the eye? In other words, they should be sponsored by an instructor who's capable of knowing what he's doing. Answer, me.
Well.
Who did? Oh, there was several things. I won't go on. But how many times was I mentioned in the AGM's minutes for saying these things? Answer, 0. 0. And I'll tell you for why. It's because I used to sit next to my friend Alan Neild.
Yeah.
And I used to talk to him about these things because I knew he was very, talkative to Master Yao, because he lived nearby and everything. He used to go to his house and talk with him. And I knew he would talk about these things. And so in the dinner hour, at the AGM meetings, he would talk to him. And then Master Yao would come out and go, I think that's a good idea. I think Steve's got a good idea. And then they'd write it down in the minutes of Master Yao's idea. You just take a look at the minutes and see what it says. When it says Master Yao's idea, we have to thank Master Yao for, coming up with this. And I'm going, no point in going, really, is there? But it was just the way to get things across. That's all. It was quite.
Well, that's it. It's
quite
like
funny.
If you can't go through the front door, you got to go through the back door.
Yeah, it was hilarious. It was just, unbelievable the way I get. So that's why I always call myself the black sheep.
You are most definitely a black sheep, and
I did say the last podcast. I did say, didn't I? The way when people says to me, "Can you watch our Nationals demo?" and I went, "It's all crap," and that's why I'm the black sheep too.
You see.
I don't know how to keep my mouth shut, do I?
No, I don't. But I tell you what, I do know. Like, you're all the way. You're like 6,000 miles away now. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, what I'm worried about is you're so far away from the source, from like the mothership. How do we know that you're keeping what you're doing true, pure, bona fide? And I tell you what I've done, Mr. Newbie.
Yeah.
I've devised a series of questions, right, to which you have to answer, and you've got to be honest, mind you. No funny business. You've got to be honest. 7 questions, and it's all designed to see if you have got what it takes, if you've got the minerals to be proliferating Lau in North America. You ready?
You go for it.
All right then. Okay. Cue the music. There's actually no. Listen. Right. Question number 1. Okay. Now these are all genuine questions, right? You have a choice between studying these actual styles, and which do you choose? Face smashing fu, thug jitsu, Dr. Root's snake oil style Russian kung fu, Apostle Dr. Christian Harforche taijutsu, Maestro Burton's Five Thunder Dimac, the Al Gaza Matrix System, or Lau Gar. Which do you choose?
I think the Lau Gar I choose, really, mainly because the name appeals.
Do you think? Well, I'm sorry, Mr. Newbie, you chose
These
wrong.
These are all.
You chose wrong. You can't.
Because all those are real, are they?
They're all real.
Oh my god!
All of them are real. You chose wrong, though. Afraid so? Okay. Everyone knows you got to cross train to proliferate. Listen, it's true. It's true. Right. Question number 2.
I wrote articles. For
don't interrupt the quiz maestro here, please. Thank you.
Sorry.
Question number 2. Question number 2. When teaching a class, do you find yourself using words or phrases to bolster your credibility, such as reality-based, limb destruction, devastating power, brutal knockout, quantum pressure points, fight stopper, Dimac, free flow self-defense, and Tino Tulciega execution methods? Well, do you though?
Yeah, no, I don't use any of those, I'm afraid.
You got that wrong. You got that wrong. Listen, everyone knows you got to use pseudoscience when you're teaching martial arts. It makes you sound better and like you know what you're talking about. Right then, question number 3. You ready?
Yeah.
There's only 7 questions.
Bloody
You're
hell.
not doing very well so far. Like I said, you got to answer honestly. Have you ever felt the need to dress up as a Shaolin monk, complete with prayer beads, leg wraps, and cloth sandals?
I don't think so. I did go and see Rocky Horror once, and I wore stockings and suspenders.
You got that wrong. You got it wrong. I'm afraid. Listen. What you do in your spare times on Saturday nights. We're talking about martial arts. You must understand. You got to dress up as a monk for some credibility. What's wrong with you? Honestly,
I got the bald head.
That doesn't count. I thought you might say that. Right. Question 4. Okay. Only 7 questions. Question 4. Do you own one or more of the following? A set of Eskrima sticks. Quiet. This is serious. The DVD Shaolin Wheel of Life, the Master's Edition featuring John Hurt.
No.
Pair of nunchucks.
No.
Thai boxing shorts. Yellow and black Onitsuka Tiger trainers, a la the ones that Bruce Lee wore in Game of Death. Do you own any of those?
No, sorry.
You got that one wrong as well. Everyone knows that any stylist in this modern era owns Eskrima sticks. What's wrong with you?
That's because they run out of things to do.
Jesus. Right, for God's sake. Right then, question 5. Do you post more posts on Facebook about Wushu than Lau Gar?
No, but I know who does.
Well, what's your answer,
Block
Mr. Newbie?
spots.
I've got to lock you in. Here. What's your
I'm
answer?
sorry, no, I don't.
Everybody knows you've got to post Wushu on Facebook, even if you're a Lau Gar guardian, okay? This is important shit. Waiting to come on, someone just posted a Wushu post on one of the Lau Gar pages. Right, honestly. Right, 2 more questions to go. And I'm not impressed so far. Right, okay. Okay, so you are only allowed to watch one DVD box set for the rest of your life. Do you choose A, the American Ninja Pentology, B, David Carradine's Shaolin Tai Chi and Qi Kung workouts, wait, or C, the official Lau Gar syllabus DVD collection?
Well, that's a hard one.
I'm not laughing.
I'd like to remake one of them.
What's the answer, Mr. Newbie? I'm going to have to press you for this.
Oh, I've got to choose one.
You've got to choose one.
It'll have to be the Lau Gar one with changes.
Oh my God.
With the edits.
Oh my God. You actually got one right. Are you sure about that? Do you not want to phone a friend?
No.
All right then. Okay. Right. Last question now. Last question. And this is a kind of lateral thinking out the box thing. All right. Then we'll press on. On a very rare occasion, Master Yao invites you exclusively to be his caddy as he plays crazy golf at the Ghetto Golf Club in Birmingham. However, you suddenly realise it clashes with the Kylie Minogue Showgirl concert tour to which you have front row tickets. What do you do?
It's got to be Kylie Minogue, I'm afraid.
Oh, of course it is Kylie Minogue, but you got that wrong. You've got to get some FaceTime with Master Yao. You know what it's
I had
like.
enough FaceTime.
Well, listen,
FaceTime is one thing, pulling a caddy is another.
at Crazy Ghetto Golf, and that's actually a place. I'm sorry, Mr. Newbie, you got out of 7 questions, you only got 1 right. You are in no position to be proliferating.
Is that Kylie Minogue?
It was most definitely not Kylie Minogue. You're supposed to be Master Yao's, get some FaceTime.
Caddy.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, I'm sorry. It's you're not good enough.
He wouldn't ask anyone to do that, but there are a lot of people that would offer.
You think?
Yeah.
Well, you know.
He would never ask anybody to do that for him.
Well, of
Well,
course. I don't
he
think he'd
most
be playing crazy golf at the Ghetto Golf Club.
Well, even if it was proper golf at Kings Norton Golf Club, he wouldn't necessarily ask anybody to caddy for him. But I bet you there'd be a few people that are running up there and go, "I'll do that for you, Matthew. I'll do that." They might have a different accent than that, but I'm not going to come out with it because it's a giveaway.
Do you reckon?
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, let's press on with the rest of the show.
You've made me bitch.
Yeah, you made your own. Actually, you started the bitching today. You mentioned DVDs, and next thing you know, you're bitching.
Yeah, I guess.
Right. Okay. So we have.
Sorry, before I forget, I was just saying to you because we were talking about one of those questions with cross training and that.
Oh yeah.
And I just wanted to explain. I did write, I think, about 11 or 12 articles for Combat Magazine.
Yeah.
And one of them was about cross training and how bad it is. And it's kind of my disagreement with it. That's all. So.
When was this? When was that? Was that in the 90s?
1996, possibly.
Okay. Okay.
Right,
Because I know, because when I remember sort of 2006 or whatever when we were in, when they did a big feature on.
Oh, maybe it was then. Yeah, 1996 was a different one when I went to Scotland. That's right. Okay. Yeah, I did one with Dave Baptist when I went to Scotland.
Right.
That was an article, like a big article about me and Dave Baptist, and then in the 2006, is it?
It would have been 2006.
Yeah, that's when we had the big photo shoot, and that's when I wrote the articles, and everybody. Contributed to the development, whatever, and then didn't offer anything.
Yeah, it's your chance to write in Combat Magazine, and no one did.
Yeah, it's your opportunity to write about your club. It's your opportunity to write about your students, whatever, student of the month, all this sort of thing was all supposed to be in Combat Magazine. I wrote articles, about the style and about my attitude towards, training and so on.
Yeah.
And I wrote, an article every month, a 2-page article, and not a single person contributed to it. And then they complained about the fact that because we had to pay to do it, they complained that they'd paid for nothing. Well, yeah, if you don't do anything about it, you don't get anything.
But mind you, you've always been the one who you're a bit of a talker, though. It's just as well you were writing things, You talk a good fight.
Glassitis.
Oh, for God's sake. So we've had some letters this week. We've had some messages, and we've had some questions, which is always good. What are you doing? What are you messing around with now?
Sorry, I was banging a drum. Look,
I thought you were looking. Is that your food call? Are you waiting on chocolate?
No. That was my.
Bring me chocolate. No.
I've ate all my Smarties.
How have you?
Yeah, I got Baileys. The kids bought me a massive bottle of Baileys, Baileys.
Have you been at it already?
$60.
Baileys. $60.
Yes.
Bloody hell.
60. Yeah, it was huge, bloody like a barrel.
Oh right, okay.
But nice.
Right. Well,
I'm just looking at the empty glass right now. Actually.
Well, do you want me to pause the proceedings while you go and top up? There's nothing like a wee tipple while we. Right, okay, so like I said, we're going to be talking, we've got some questions from people, and we're also later on going to be just talking about Back by Jern, the 7th set, so stay tuned for that. We've but in
probably
the meantime,
need a podcast just about that.
Probably it's going to be, but we have been off for a couple of days actually. This is our longest sort of between shows one really. Yeah. So I wanted to start off just with something scooting Tinternet whilst we were on a sabbatical. I was wondering, what's your thoughts? What's your opinion? Are you a barefoot or a shoes person when doing martial arts? What do you prefer?
Oh, nowadays I'm a shoesy person, but I got some little quack shoes, leather shoes.
Quack shoes?
Yeah, they're like from Simac. I've had them for years.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah,
I thought you said Crocs then. I was like, what?
No, well, I've got them as well, but I don't train in them.
Jesus.
I used to, when I was a kid, I used to run around. We talked about that, and I could run over anything.
Yeah.
coals, you know, kind of anything,
Yeah.
gravel and paving,
What?
you know, bare feet everywhere.
I mean, am I right? I mean, I'm under the impression that, you know, kung fu has generally always been trained with shoes on, hasn't it? You know?
No,
Has it?
no.
No, I mean, like.
No, well, originally it's bare feet. Simply, I mean, you harden your feet.
Yeah.
You just you know, maybe stick a little bit of white spirit on your feet to harden your pads. But no, a lot of the time it was always bare feet initially. Everyone has to be equal, you see.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been in situations where, you know, you've had two students training. One had bare feet, the other one had, you know, kind of trainers on.
Oh, you get stubbed on the toe. With
Yeah, he got stubbed. He caught his toe, and his toenail went straight up 90 degrees,
Ooh.
straight off his toe.
Yeah.
Lifted his big toe up. Oh, it was painful.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, it's not.
and then
No, but that's
yeah.
trainers, though. If you wear trainers in a class, there's
Yeah.
nothing worse than wearing bloody.
Well, there
trainers.
used to be the old kung fu shoes.
Oh,
You know, the
don't
kung
talk to me
fu
about
shoes.
them. The slippers,
Yeah,
the
the
kung fu
Chinese ones.
slippers.
Yeah.
Did I tell
Because
you?
they made it with. Go on.
Go on. No, go on. Go on. What were you going to say?
I was going to say they got plastic, you know, or rubber soles, but also you can get the compact, the actual soles if you buy them from China.
Yeah.
I bought my first pair from China in 1975, I think.
When you were in the Navy.
When I was in the Navy, that's
Yeah.
right. I went there and I went to China, communist China at the time. I got my little flag.
What do you
my
mean at
Chinese
the time
flag.
it still is communist?
No, but Chairman Mao was still alive.
Oh, proper communism.
I'm talking real, yeah. I'm talking communism where you couldn't go anywhere, and they escorted you to the Siemens mission, and
They don't make
but
it
you
like
could-
they used to. Communism.
you could buy anything cheap.
Yeah.
And I bought some slippers, and I bought an air rifle, and like everything from this place, and and you know, t-shirts like Bruce Lee.
Yeah.
You know, so I bought them, and but they had the cloth. Thing,
I know
compact,
the ones you mean. Yeah.
compact sewn
Well,
old clothes. So as
what-
they started to wear out,
Yeah.
you would get bits of pants
Yes.
all over the, you know, following you.
Do you know? Yeah. I've never worn them, but I had my first ever pair of kung fu slippers, right? And I got cheap off internet years and years ago, and I remember wearing them, but it was a plastic sole. Right?
Yeah, you just
Now,
go flying.
Jesus Christ. The hall was a wooden floor. I'm like bloody Christopher Dean skating all around the place. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's a
And
waste
when
of
I was
time.
training, I was at Doug's class not so long ago. One of the guys there, bloody hell, he has a pair of these things. Bloody kung fu slip. He did a front kick, and the thing shot off the end of his foot and hit the light.
Yeah.
Honest to God. It's like, that's dangerous. you know?
And the rubber ones were great, but the trouble is they lasted about 5 minutes. Because as soon as
Yeah.
you did a few turns, spinning kicks, whatever, the edges started tearing off and taking the sewing out.
I tell you what, I tell you what gripes my gets my hackles up.
Yeah.
It's purely a personal preference thing. I hate those Bruce Lee elasticated kung fu trousers.
Yeah.
Oh, I
Yes,
can't
so do
stand
I.
them. Oh, I can't
Yeah, I had a
stand
pair
them.
of them. I had a pair of
tell ya.
them early on.
Oh, yes. Oh,
Yeah.
God. But no. But going back to it, like, I don't like people training in the class with trainers, particularly with the raised heel, because if you're doing stances, you've got a total false sense of your own sort of balance and all the rest of it. Plus, you know, you can, you know, if your stance work isn't great, if you're moving, you know, you could twist an ankle, you know, because you've got quite a raise. But you know, in terms of training, I tell you, I much prefer to have something on my feet. You know.
Yeah. Well, nowadays, we're a bit lazy.
Yeah.
And we tend to do that, but there's a lot of people still go. I think I think good classes. It is. I'm not saying that we don't run good classes, but you know, it would be nice for me as an old fart to see people training in bare feet throughout.
Really?
But that's to make everyone equal. But there's just today, people just won't do it. They just won't even do that. If you say that you've got to train in bare feet, the first thing they'll do is they'll get blisters, and then they won't know how to cope with the blisters.
Yeah.
So then they just won't train.
Yeah.
So they'll leave it a few days. The blisters will heal, come back, start again. Same thing will happen.
Yeah.
So instead of just keep on training and you know, like I say, stick a bit of paraffin on there or a bit of white spirit, and you know, Bob's your uncle. You get hardened feet.
Well,
and,
you know,
as long as you don't put a match to them.
Obviously, if you're like putting on your fighting kit and whatnot, you know, bare feet order. Because some people have the cheek, you know, to wear their trainers under their foot protectors. I'm like, well, you know, what good is that? You know, so it's quite...
But people won't even cut their toenails today anyway.
God,
so you know, it's the way it is.
Yeah, do you remember that?
Way of the world, James.
Yeah, well, you know, I'm sorry, my world is 1950s. I haven't moved on. My wardrobe's 1970s. I'm just a red.
Yeah, I saw the video with you singing that song from the 70s.
Oh yeah, no.
Or was it 60s?
No, it was the 60s. It was Fireball XL5. I wish I was a spaceman.
That was great.
No, I'm sorry about that. I got bored. You know, you get bored in lockdown. But no, I mean, I'm definitely a training shoes wear kind of guy. I really, you know, that's my thing. But whatever floats your boat. Talking about incidentals, right? I've got a gripe, and I'm wondering if you could set me straight, or if I've got it, you know, if I've got it wrong. Okay, sashes, right? Sashes. If you're a student, the sash is on your left. If you're a teacher, the sash is on your right. However, is that correct so far? Am I right so far?
It is, yeah.
Okay. Now,
if you were taking your own class, you wear it on the right.
Okay.
Or if you're a black sash training under someone else, you should wear it on your left.
Okay. All right. It's not important, but it's just a bit of detail, and we love the details, don't we?
It's one of them old.
Now, can I ask you, when you tie your sash, I have always tied my sash, right, in like a bow, in like you're doing your shoes up, your shoelaces. The reason being, if someone grabs your sash during a fight or whatever, and they pull it, it unravels. Is that correct?
Well, it's not for that reason.
No, but it's a reason. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, if someone grabs you, they can't hold on to you.
I'll explain the reason and why and how they're tied.
Go on,
if you like.
Yes, please.
That's all I can do.
Yeah.
Well, there wasn't any elastic previously, so you would have tunics, trousers, if you want, pants. They say here, where they would fold over. You know, depending on which way you were hanging, as they say.
So you would left or right.
Yeah. So you would fold them, and then you would wrap your sash round in order to keep them up, and then you would tie it left or right, depending on what colour and so on.
Yeah.
You would. It's just an ordinary overhand knot, and when you come to do the second overhand, it becomes a bow, and then through that you pull another bow. So basically, in other words, it's not pulled all the way through.
Yeah.
Basically, if you want to get the toilet quick, if you want the washroom as fast as possible, first thing you do, straight to the loo, straight to the washroom, pull one cord, pull the other, trousers fall down. Now if you accidentally pull, get one caught during training, you still got the other one to rely on.
Right.
So they're not going to come down straight away. So you have two pulls and your trousers are down.
Ooh.
And that's basically the way that they're tied. That's the way it's tied. And of course it's called a piety belt, so you would keep your coins and your various bits and pieces in there. Like if you were one of those groups that you said earlier, you'd probably have some throwing stars in there.
Probably
maybe a 6-foot pole.
Yeah, you never know. Hey,
and they're 9 feet long. The piety belts are 9 feet long.
Yeah. Oh right. Okay. Right. Okay. No, I just wanted to sort that out because I see a lot of pictures of people wearing sashes, on Tinternet, and they look to me like they're tied on bloody, tight, with very tight knots. I'm like, well, okay. So I just wanted to clear that up, Mr. Newbie. So that
you remember, James, and this is no detriment, okay?
Yeah.
I don't mean this is a detriment. I just mean this is just nostalgia.
Yeah, sure.
I went to Scotland, as you know, to teach the Scottish in 1991. 1 or 2 or 3 or something like that.
Yeah.
So they asked me to go to Scotland for 2 weeks. I went on holiday and I stayed there for 8 years. So, you know, and Maslio says, you know, if you're going to go up there, you got to do this, do that. You're going to run them and whatever.
Yeah.
So that's what I did and built a big area.
Yeah.
But as you know, I told you about the little classes that I went to,
Yeah.
and I met Jim for the first time.
Yeah.
Now
Yeah.
6th or 7th degree or something, 6th
Yep.
degree. And when I first met him, and he threw his sword down, remember?
Yeah.
I was telling you that. And that great video you sent me the other day of you doing it. Exactly the same after I showed you the set.
No,
it was great.
I've never ever had my mind blown. Anyway, go on. I'll speak about that in a bit.
Sorry, to finish, to cut a long story short, his was tied with Velcro.
Right.
It was a first degree black sash.
Right.
And it was tied with Velcro.
Wow. Well,
and that's not a detriment to Jim, because I mean they were so far away from everybody. He had no one to ask.
Yeah.
He just had no one to ask, and he never came down to courses or anything. He was just in Scotland. He's a homeboy.
Yeah.
And that's what it was like. Yeah.
Absolutely. Wow. Yeah. Okay. Well, you know, that was then. Yeah. That was then. You did. You did. Honest to God, the other day when because I sent you. I love to get critiqued, right? People, I love getting critiqued, because you know the minute you think you know something, that's when you start losing the plot. Okay, so all the time, you know, be your own worst critic and always seek sort of criticism where possible. Mm-hmm. So I sent Steve a video of me doing the first sword form, and oh my God, like I thought it looked really good. And I was, you know, reasonably happy with it. Anyway, 2 hours later on Facebook Messenger, and 2 A4 sized, you know, pages full of notes. I needed a Valium after that, Steve. I swear to God. But talk about the detail, and it's the detail that I love. Like I love the detail. But it amazes me. Yeah, but it amazes me. Like, you know,
it's sad that people. Then this is the problem, you see, because there's no set way of teaching. People learn from people. You know, they may be competitive fighters or they may be traditionists, whatever. And you have whatever group will try to teach the syllabus in as best they know it. They may not know it that well. They may go to courses, or they may see other people and get it from them. Whatever. In the end, there is no distinction, no defined way of teaching the syllabus or whatever. So what happens is it just, from generation to generation, it gets diluted and diluted and diluted. And okay, some of those generations are lucky enough to be able to meet up with other people that can then correct them, or they're able to go to the centre and so on, and different courses. But then of course it's very hard for them to change those habits. And so what happens is, of course, you get a completely bastardised set, and then of course people also go by an individual answer. Mastier might give someone an answer to a question for them, remember. People, and then those people will then go, right, he told me it this way. But he may have told you it that way, just as I do. He may well have told you it that way because he knows that's how you think, and that's how you will need the answer to be described to you, so that he knows that you understand what he's saying. But then the next person asks him the same question, and he may give them a separate answer, you know, which will be similar, but you know, just using different words. Remember, it's his second language. It's not his first language. In fact, it's about his 8th language, because he speaks about 7 different dialects of Chinese. So it's not so easy to come up with the same words all the time. And it's so you do get these people that go, oh no, it's not. He didn't say that. He said it's this, and yet they mean the same bloody thing. And you go, well. The good thing is that Sharp Choi we talked about the other day, didn't we, about the name of that technique?
Well, we've actually got a question pertaining to Sharp Choi, which we'll sort of talk about in a bit. But,
okay. Well, I'll leave it to then.
Well, but you're so right. I mean, like, there's a certain amount of I think a lot of the problem with people, in terms of when you've got mass gatherings of people, or sort of, or like an organisation like the BKFA or whatever, with someone at the head. Okay, so one week, like you said, Master Yao might say something. Next week, he might say a completely different thing. And what you've got is it's like that. I don't mean as a detrimental thing, right, to people. I really don't. But it's like those aliens in Toy Story when they go, ooh.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Right.
Yes.
And so that everybody has this mentality whereby, that's it. That's the answer. That's it. That's it.
Yeah,
You've got to do it like this. Right.
Yeah.
No, and it's fine. That's fine. I'm not at all.
Life of Brian comes to mind.
There you go. Then there you go. Right. And it's kind of like this. No. It's but no. I'm not. It's not like being. I'm not being sort of casting aspersions on anyone. I'm just saying that's the way people are, aren't they? It's like it's a. They want answers, and they.
Yeah.
So, but what my point is that. There are many reasons you do things in the sets, right?
Yeah.
Of course, we have to first of all get the correct movements. That's the whole point of it, and whatever. But you have to try and reach a point in your training when I don't know. It's called like a transcendent state, right? Where you're no longer focused on dogma and the minutiae. You're just focused on the reason why you do it. Now, that doesn't detract from getting the movement right, because let's face it, you have to get the movement right. But it's like you say, right? And it's like you said, I don't mean to hijack this, but it's like you say, you have to get correct grammar before you can start to speak in slang.
Yeah.
And most people are not at the stage when they have got correct grammar. They still write in huge letters and wonky bits
they
and stuff like
completely
that.
miss grammar, and they just they never went to school. In other words, I mean, there are 2 points I want to make there. Firstly, about Life of Brian. He's not the Messiah. He's a very naughty boy.
Do you know? Just a quick one. He had to put a rubber band around his winky for that scene to make him look like he was, Jewish. Anyway, anyway, move on. It's
okay, I didn't really look at it in that much detail, to be honest with you. No,
I'm a stickler for details, Mr. Newman.
Oh Christ! Oh my God! I was around in that time when it was open. I was queuing for Genesis tickets.
Were you?
And,
did you have a perm? Did you have a perm at the time?
To be honest, I did. I was queuing around the back of the Odeon for Genesis tickets, and overnight, because there was no computers or anything like, you couldn't order online, so you had to queue literally, physically, overnight with a sleeping bag, waiting for tickets to see if you could get a ticket at the door, and they would sell them at the door. And in the morning, I was right round the back of this, in this alleyway that went right around the back of the cinema or the theatre, and this cleaner opened the window at the top, and when she opened this window to dust a mop or whatever, everybody in the crowd, and I'm saying everybody, picked up their shoe and went, "It's a sign!" and the woman, she didn't know what to do with herself, I tell you.
That's great.
It was brilliant. They all started quoting him. But sorry, we digress, don't we? Okay, let's talk about Master Yao's ideology, if you like, or people's perception of him. I went to a Brown Sash course. I used to go to the Brown Sash courses irrespective of what grade I was, right the way through 4th degree, whatever. And I used to go to them no matter what, every single one. And the one time he demonstrated the number 9, is it? When you sweep them, number 9 kick block, and you sweep them, and then you recover by stepping backwards. Okay, spinning backwards on the one hand, and then the following course I went to, you stepped backwards. And so I was confused, so I went up to him and I went, "Master Yao," and he was sitting there it was in John Bright Street, in the boxing rings, and they used to demonstrate in the boxing rings. And I says, "Master Yao," I says, "last time I was here, last month, you did it this way, right? You stepped out, and then this week you spun the other way. So which one is it? And he looked at me, and John looked at me, and they went, use your noggin. In other words, you've got to recognise what is useful, what works for you, and the circumstances that you may be in when you do it.
Yeah.
So there's nothing. Sets are fluid.
Oh,
Don't
totally.
change the techniques.
Yeah.
But there are ways of making things work.
Yeah.
Okay. But so there are lots of reasons and ways
Well,
of doing things, but
yeah.
but don't change the techniques.
I always think like that. Sets are fluid, but
Yes.
when you start, and the problem with people is they'll start over, and I do it. They'll start over analysing the incidentals. For example, the hand blocks and kick blocks. Now, what I mean by that is they focus a hell of a lot of their mental energy and concentration on, what's he doing with this? Is it blah, blah, blah. Okay?
Yeah.
A bit like your example of what you just did there. Now, as well as I do, that these hand blocks and kick blocks are basically formulated from techniques by
They
Master
are a
Yao,
vehicle,
etc.
remember.
Yeah,
they are a
exactly.
vehicle.
Yeah.
They are not...
Yeah.
I mean, okay, if you've got to
Yeah.
do them in a grading, fair enough.
Yeah.
They're a standard.
Listen, I agree. But the point I was making was the sets are fluid. Spend your time trying to figure out what you're doing with the sets, how you're using this technique for that move or whatever, instead of, I don't say wasting time doing hand blocks and kick blocks. You need to train them because they're great ideas. But
Yeah.
I think a lot of training, energy is directed in the wrong things, if you like. Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense to you? Or?
Well, yeah, and I think the problem people have with sets, and a good example I gave you the other day was the movement in Farkune, where after you've done your leopard's paw, the last leopard's paw, and you turn to the 90 degrees to is it 90 degrees? Yeah, 90 degrees.
90 degrees, yeah.
Yeah, and you're blocking inwards with your right hand, and from that position then you're going to slide your left hand up that hand and grab, and then what do people do? They just put the other hand next to it and they pull it together as if they was pulling someone with both hands, and in reality, if you look at the way that they've got their hands, it makes no sense because it wouldn't work. There's no way you can grab anyone like that. What they miss is the fact that when you've done the block and you've slid your hand up, that second hand, your left hand, has now grabbed their wrist or their arm. You rotate the arm upside down, making it difficult for them to get out of it, really, because they can't pull back because their anatomy has now changed. The configuration of their body, in other words, their angle or their balance is now changing as well. The other hand comes underneath and just helps that hand. What do you call it? It
guides it. Or,
no, I don't mean that. I mean, it consolidates the hold, really. Yeah. So you're getting the arm. It's almost like pulling on a rope. Like a sailor pulling a rope. Yeah, that's it. The Marcel. That's what you said. Yeah, and that's what it is basically. Block with the right, slide up and grab with the left.
Yeah.
Marcel with the both hands.
No, Marcel.
What? Marcel.
That's it. That's the one. That's it.
What did I say? Marcel.
You said Marcel.
Well, that's his brother.
Oh, sorry. No, not his brother.
Okay. Yeah. So you're basically just pulling, and then when you pull it like that, of course, you are pulling an arm, and of course, pulling that arm, pulling him off balance, provides you with the sickle kick.
But it's imagination. It's imagination, Steve.
And practice.
Yes.
Physical practice with a partner.
But actually, obviously, right? Obviously, you need
James. I'm not arguing with you here. I'm just trying to butt in. But I'm just trying to say, like, people, they're so desperate to practice the set over and over again that they practice the same mistake over and over again because they never actually take the set apart and use a partner. And the partner, can you do a punch to me? Can you grab hold of my arm? Let me see if I can make this work and see how this works and what is this for, and discuss it with them as well. And so you educate both of you. Did I say educate on time then?
I don't know. I think you've been on the Baileys. This is okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what you're doing. You're educating, and then of course people take an interest in what you're doing, and then you educate someone else, and you've got yourself a great, class.
Yeah.
Now, but the more people get involved, the more people can argue the point whether it works or not.
Absolutely.
And we'll try it. Let's try it work. I always remember someone telling me about what happened in the centre. The guys come rushing in, and he goes, "Oh, Master Yao, I think his arm's dislocated. Will you come and help?" And Master Yao goes out and he says, "Oh, what happened?" He says, "Well, I was doing a knife defence coming down, and I showed him how to do it, and he says, 'Oh, it won't work.' So I did it, and he said, 'Did it work?' And Master Yao went, 'Well, there you go, then it worked.'" So. And he put his arm back, he relocated his arm back for him, and says, "Don't ask such stupid questions." I don't think he says that, because there's no such thing as a stupid question.
Yeah.
The only stupid question is the question you ask yourself on the bus on the way home.
Yeah, yeah.
It's too late.
Yeah.
That's a stupid question.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I don't know why we were discussing Farkune the other day. What were we discussing? Why were we discussing?
I think we were talking about Sharp Choy, and then we were talking about whether something was in Sharp Choy.
Right. Oh, yeah, I remember now. But
because you are well aware, everybody should be well aware, who listens to us now, that the set, it isn't about doing the first set, the second set, the third set. It's about learning the first set to understand the second set, to understand the third set, to understand the fourth set, because there are techniques in there which will always reoccur within those forms. Obviously the forms get bigger, so new techniques are applied or develop, but there are many techniques that are actually used for different reasons and at different angles and with different combinations in order to qualify that technique in lots of different uses. And people they go, "Oh no, that's not that move, that's in that set. Oh, that's not move." And a typical one is what we're going to talk about in Bakpajan, actually.
Oh, Bakpajan. Okay, yeah. Well, going back, if we you mentioned Farkune with the grab. I mean, you can interpret in Feilongji there's grabs, in Lau Gar there's grabs, in Bakpajan there's grabs. But it's about having, like you said, that the mentality and the physical practice, obviously, so you can figure out what you're doing.
Open-mindedness as well.
Yes, open-mindedness. Yeah, not to be.
Just because your instructor says, "Oh, do it this way," doesn't mean to say that it works, unless he shows you it works. You need to know that it works.
But then once you know it works, figure out why it doesn't work. Find an argument against it, and then figure out why something else could work instead, etc. So,
or by changing it in that sense, because, and I'm not saying change the technique. No. I'm just saying change the way it was taught, because often techniques are taught, like I just mentioned in Farkune. Often they're taught, they do them in a set, but they couldn't apply them in reality.
Yes.
Right. There are many movements in sets. When you watch someone do a set at a demonstration, the nationals or whatever, any demonstration, and you see them do these moves, and you can blatantly see they haven't got a clue what they're doing with them, because they're just doing them to look good. And don't get me wrong, they must have trained really hard to look good, but that's it's just not the way. For me, it's got to have a use.
Well, I think isn't that the most important? Isn't that why you do martial art? I mean,
yes, for the use. It
certainly
should be the reason why you teach.
Well,
you don't teach to look good. You don't teach to be a teacher. You teach because you want to teach, and because you've got something to teach.
Yeah, but you mentioned teaching there. There's not a better way than to understand your stuff better than by teaching. But we've mentioned that before on other podcasts. But it's true. Yeah. It's too true. But I think we were discussing.
Just because you want to teach doesn't qualify you to be a teacher.
Yeah.
Just remember that. Learn. Make sure you learn from a good person.
We were discussing the other day. What were we discussing about? The problem with spending a lot of time doing the hand blocks and kickboxing classes, when not that we were just chewing the fat. So I don't know. Maybe the problem is the wrong word, but we were basically saying people need to spend a lot more time trying to pick apart these sets, trying to apply these moves, and become a bit more organic with their thinking. I mean, do you know what I mean? But
yeah, well,
easier
some
said
people
than
have only
done.
got like an hour a week.
Yeah, well, that's the problem, Steve, isn't it? That is the problem. Or you've got a big class. What are you going to do? You know.
Yeah, can't teach everybody all the time.
No, it's a tough one, you know.
But it's still your responsibility to do so.
Yeah, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
You can't just say, "Oh, well, you know, teach it from our, take the money and run." That's not how you teach. That's not the good reason to teach.
No.
So.
No, absolutely. Before we go on to questions, I was on the internet the other day. I found a website that makes up acronyms. Do you know what an acronym is? Do you know
I don't know anything about computers.
Right. No,
so
not
English,
computers.
I know that. I'm just going to say that English isn't my forte either.
Oh, right. Well, you know, like it's a series of letters that each one of those letters represents a word, but it actually ends up making a word anyway. Anyway, you can do reverse acronyms, so you can give the computer a word, right, and it comes up as an acronym, right? And the first one I did, and I'm not joking, right? You'll find this hilarious. I'd just spoken to you or something, so I typed in the word guardian, right? Right, and this is what came up genuinely first time, right? Grubby, unpleasant, appalling. Wait. Retaliatory, disheartened, inarticulate, argumentative, and narcissistic. that about covers your act, doesn't it, Mr. Newby?
I wondered why people kept looking at me like that when I had that sash on.
And then I had some fun. Then I realised, because it was my first time, I realised I chose all negative words for it to come out. That's why they're all so. I typed in Lau Gar, and I put positive words, you know, because, you know, flying the flag and all that, and it came up as lovely, affirmative, upright, genius, active, and right. And then I was in a bitch mood, and I typed in Wing Chun, and it came out wicked, insipid, nondescript, ghastly, criminal, hurt, untoward, and nasty. I thought, I'll stop there. Oh, anyway, that was fun.
You've made your case. You've had it through acronyms.
Well, yeah, there you go. Not that I'm bitching, but I just thought that was hilarious, the first thing I typed in. Anyway, right, so we've got some letters. We've got some mail that we've got to read out. And as it is, people send us letters, and, you know, they want me to sort of, not and I say me, but bear with me, they want me to fix them up with an answer, and, you know, my name's James, and so I decided a completely unoriginal title for this little segment. I'm going to call it Jim will Fix It. Cue the music.
You always want to do, the one thing that you always wanted to. Now you've done it, Jim has fixed it for you, and you and you.
You are joking.
No, I'm not joking.
You do realise what happened to Jim in the end.
Listen, that guy. It was appalling. I mean, for him to go outside with that haircut was just shocking. So if that theme tune, people, makes you feel uneasy, you know, whatever. Anyway, honestly, I'm just having a joke. Right, first letter, Mr. Newby. Okay. It was, say what you want about that show, it was an amazing theme tune, I thought. Don't you? I thought that was a good theme tune.
I can't remember it.
Oh, you've just listened to it. You just listened to it. Never mind.
Oh, okay.
It's called editing. It's called editing. Right?
Sorry.
All right. So you see, it was good music. Okay, so all right, the first letter. Again from Anon. It gets around this Anon.
Yeah, I know him well.
Right. So this is actually a nice letter. So it says, "Dear James and Steve, I'm cracking through your podcasts, ! Please do keep them coming, if at all possible. I have more queries / points for debate. But firstly, I wanted to just say thanks to James in all of this. Do you know what? I like him already. I like this is the kind of listenership we want. The upscale, intellectual types. This is what I like, right? Oh, let me just say it again. Firstly, I wanted to just say thanks to James in all of this.
Let's move on, shall we? Let's move on.
Sorry, I was just wallowing my time. In a moment. Your pointed questioning is very helpful for us practitioners of the art. I love nothing more than the conversations that open up more questions and points for clarification, aka debate, which often ends up being about interpretation. Moves on. Chop choy.
They probably just mean prove it.
Prove it. Well, we waffle on a bit, don't we? Anyway, and it goes on. Sharp choy. 3 shuffles, 5 shouts. Where are the shouts? And I think I might do 4 shuffles, having a shuffle on both the last forward Phoenix Eye movements just before dropping into the horse stance. Okay. Now, of course, Sharp choy is our 3rd set. We refer to the Sharp choy form as drilling punches. At a master's seminar last year, Grandmaster Yao asked his audience what Sharp choy translated to. I said drilling punches, feeling slightly set up. Grandmaster Yao smiled and said I wasn't entirely wrong, but that sharp is a stabbing like a dart. And finishes off with where are the shouts is the question I have for most forms, and often get a different or vague answer relating to that. So, Sharp choy. 5 shouts, 3 shuffles. Where are they, Mr. Newbie?
Every time you are a straight fist out, that's a shout.
Okay, but then there's more than
and one of them
5 shouts.
Yeah, no, there isn't much more than 5 shouts.
Well,
the double one is the last shout.
Okay, right. Just bear with me, right?
Are you doing it now?
No, I'm not doing. Well, I'm trying to explain it, right? So you've done your bow, you open up, you block, and you do your 3 strikes. That's a shout.
Shout on the 3rd one. On the 3rd one,
right? That's fine. So that's 1 shout, yeah. Then you do your horse stance, your elbow, and you twist 90 degrees. Go down, single leg stance, stand up, do a straight punch. Is that another shout?
Yes, straight punch.
Right, so that's 2. Then you turn 90 degrees, do your walk upward and downward, do another elbow, you turn 90 degrees, you do a punch.
Then that's a shout.
Right? Then you go down single leg stance, turn 180 degrees up for, and by the way, that was your first shuffle that's just gone. Then you do a shuffle and a strike. Yeah. So that's your 2nd shuffle and your 4th shout. Right? Mm-hmm. Then you turn.
I'm not sure if there's. I'm sorry, I was ahead of you until you said shuffle because.
You do 3 shuffles at the end, right?
Yeah.
So your first shuffle is after the 2nd elbow, before you go down for the 2nd time.
When you go down after a 180 degree turn, that's your first shuffle.
No, that's a step. The first one. Oh, Jesus
I've just
Christ.
done it.
Right. No.
You know what? Now, okay, listeners, we're both standing up. One's in Canada and one's in the UK.
Right.
And we're both doing the set.
I'm telling you, right? After no, I know. Listen, I listen to everything you say, and I know I know. After the 2nd elbow, you step across, cross stance. You turn out, don't you? You block, you shuffle punch, right? After the 2nd elbow. Then you go down for the 2nd time on a single leg, kneeling stance rather. Then you stand up 180 degrees, you do another shuffle punch.
You just carry on talking, I'm doing it.
After you've done the 2nd shuffle punch, you pivot 90 degrees to
I'm
your
not
right.
listening, James!
Oh, for God's sake. Oh, God. Oh, my Lord. It's, you know. Are you there? Hello?
Hello, James.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Have you found these elusive shuffles yet?
I've found the first shuffle. That's the one you were talking about.
Okay.
And, yeah.
Thank you.
I'm putting my mic back on.
Right.
Okay.
This is the quality broadcasting. This is what you pay your good money for, people. Listen, right.
Yeah,
You found
okay, go
your
on.
first shuffle. Was it where I said it was?
The first one, yeah.
Right.
And then you go down 180 degrees, second
Yeah.
shuffle.
Yes.
And
yes.
then the third shuffle is when you pull back, when you lean back in the double strikes.
No, that's not the shuffle. That's not where the shuffle is. The last strike.
You don't think?
No, I promise you, because you've never, ever told
Sorry.
me that. The third shuffle is after you turn 90 degrees, you do another straight punch and a shuffle.
I didn't get that far, James. I went through the set only to get that first shuffle.
Right. Okay.
So-
you've got your first shuffle. You've got your second shuffle. Right.
I've got to go through it on my bed now.
Okay. Then you pivot 90 degrees, so your right foot is now forward, and you do another shuffle punch. Right. That's your 3 shuffles. Then your last technique, well, not your last technique, your last but one technique is shifting your weight back on the back leg for your double punch with the Phoenix Eye fist, but you're not shuffling there, you're just straightening up the back leg.
Yeah, that's right. The shuffle is before it, isn't
Right,
it?
yes, so there's 3 shuffles.
Yeah, that's your 3 shuffles.
And
Yeah.
so 3 shuffles.
I just done it.
Okay. So, see, this is why you pay me the big.
Yeah.
Right. So, what she was saying was that's where the shuffles are, right?
Yeah.
So my thing now is where the shouts, right?
So there's only 3 shuffles over, right? And
There's
plus
3 shuffles.
I think did they say they did 4 shuffles?
Yeah. So
They may well be counting that hanging
Last-
back and then
yes.
forward as a shuffle.
Yes.
So there's nothing wrong with calling that a shuffle, but it's not.
But it's not a shuffle.
Well, no, it can be a shuffle. It totally depends. Basically, what's happening is someone's going to grab you, and as they grab you, you manage to get back. You part their arms or strike out with your hands, and their arms literally target, guide your hand towards their collarbone or chest or wherever you want to hit. Yeah. And so as you place your foot back, you can call it a shuffle. But the problem is a lot of people end up coming back as a hanging stance, and that's why they shuffle, because they're on a hanging stance, so they end up looking like it's shuffling. But you don't need to come back on a hanging stance, because if you did and person was attacking you and you try to push his arms away, he would overpower you and he would keep on pushing you backwards because you're only standing on one leg because you're on a hanging stance. So consequently, what you tend to do is lean backwards, certainly, but you've got a much longer step because your other heel is still on the ground.
That's right. So
where you've got a much more powerful position.
So is it? I didn't mean to interrupt, but I just have to sort of make sure people listening understand.
Yep.
When we talk about this leaning back, okay,
not your back.
Not
your back. Just the position is back. Yeah.
Yes.
Your posture is back on the back leg.
Excuse me. That's what I meant. So
yeah.
Basically, could you interpret it as a kind of 60-40 stance, if you like? 60% on the back leg and 40% on the front. But
on
at
the
this
heel.
point, but your heel, it's not your whole front foot at this point can be flat on the floor.
It can be, but there's no need for it. But if you put the heel up, you've got more ability to move backwards.
Yeah.
And if you leave the leg where it is, the foot where it is, not necessarily. But it's.
And it's just.
It doesn't really matter.
No,
but Mastiao tends to do it with a toes up in the air, heel onto the heel. Okay. So I tend to do it that way.
The power delivered in those final 2 strikes after you're leaning back, shifting your weight backwards, is purely the straightening of the back leg, and sort of like in Chop Choi, you're coiling your feet a lot, aren't you? You're turning them into an 8 stance, and that is in effect coiling. Do you know what I mean? Like
no, you're not in an 8 stance for that. Oh yes, I see what you mean. 8 stance turned in. Yeah, when you turn on an angle.
Yes.
Yeah, when you turn 90 degrees, if you turn the rear foot. Is it the forward foot first? If you turn the forward foot first, as you turn, one direction or the other, 90 degrees, you will end up in a very tight stance. And what that allows you to do is to spring the stance forward in a much better way. Yeah.
So that spring of a stance going forward can in a small way, could it be interpreted to the very last movement when you're delivering that double strike, because you're shifting your weight forward and springing nice and strong before you step into a horse stance?
Well, you're springing, but it's not an 8 stance, then, is it?
It's not an 8 stance.
You're leaning back.
The point I was trying to make was like the springiness.
I think what happens with it is because the person is grabbing at your shoulders, if you want, or grabbing at your what did they call it? Lapel, yeah? So as they go to grab at your lapel with both hands, and you're slicing your hands through the middle and bouncing off, those hands that are coming towards you are literally guiding your hands. So all you're doing is just dropping your knuckles and rotating your arms straight down at the target that's given to you. It's literally given to you by his arms and guiding your knuckles into the chest or the collarbone. So it's not the same principle, it's not the same mechanics that does that, but it's just basically just dropping those knuckles into a nice given target.
Okay, so we've established where the shuffles are. Thank God. Thank God.
Hopefully.
Thank you.
Yeah, to get me up off my bed to do that.
Now, let's just clarify, just very quickly, and let's try and be brief, where the shouts are. Now, you say for every straight arm strike there's a shout, and there's 5 shouts.
It's obviously not the 3. You don't shout 3 times in the 3 first techniques.
No,
you shout on the last one.
So let me just in my head, I'm counting the straight strikes. So from the bow, you step out, do your 3 punches, 1. There's 1 shout. Okay. You do your horse stance into an elbow, then you step across. And twist,
block.
And there is another block,
shout.
and there's another strike there, so there's another strike. So that's 2.
Get down on your knees. Knee.
Step up, strike.
Step forward and strike.
And that's 3, is
the
it?
3rd.
Right. So now
twist
you do
to the side. Double block.
Upper.
And downwards.
And downwards as well.
Elbow, cross step. Twist. Shuffle and strike.
Right. So that's 4. Okay.
Down 180 degree turn. Twist, shuffle, strike.
That's 5. Now we've got another 90 degree turn.
Oh, the other one is a double one.
No.
Is that,
the
you
next
sure
one,
that's 5?
That's 5. I've just counted it. The next one is a 90 degree turn to the right and another strike.
Okay. 7. Should I say 7 instead of 5?
I think perhaps we should say 7, so we need to retract our previous statement. So
oh
issue
my
out
God! Yeah, it's been a while since I've had to count.
Oh my God!
7 could be 7 strikes.
Do you know what?
I just know it was an odd number. I think now people are just never going to believe a word we say.
They're never going to believe us, and we'd like to formally issue. I think we've got to get the press involved in this. Our press call. We got to issue a retraction and of the original.
I don't know how we're going to do that.
It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. But we'd like to thank you to the person who wrote this lovely letter. Not only because you mentioned how good I am, but for exposing our ignorance. We love that. We should have paid more attention to how many shouts there were in
Well, I came up with a number, didn't I? Because basically I just meant every single straight punch.
We don't have time for newbie kundo. This is about Lau Gar. This is a Lau Gar podcast, pure and simple. All right. So there we go, guys. So you have got 3 shuffles, but you can get 7 strikes every time you're striking out.
I apologise. This is one time in my life I've probably said 5, but really all it is just direct. Any straight punch, any punch that is done with the straight, the straight arm straightens out the arm. And that's it, including the double one.
Absolutely, because there's a lot of power and generate. We call it ging, don't we, when we're generating and putting effort in
or chum. Just remember the dog food.
Chum pedigree. I mean, the Japanese, they call it ki and stuff like that, but that's kind of like that's a shout more sound. But we out breaths on
it's just an explosive breath. People scream, and when they throw punches, they, kind of thing. I mean, that was very reduced in effort, of course. And then, but the best way to throw out these techniques is just to go that kind of thing, rather than
absolutely, no, it's just
What's up?
Oh, that's good. Oh, that's good.
Still young at heart, James. Still young at heart.
You are, yeah. Well, you're only as young as the woman you feel, right?
Yeah, that's it.
Jack is not listening to this, is she? Right. So the implication was at the end of this lovely letter, and it was a lovely letter, by the way. Thank you so much. That other forms, whilst doing other forms, a bit worried, not worried, vague as to when shouts should be performed on other techniques. But basically, any outward
straight punches, straight punches, really, and kind of explosive movements.
Yeah.
It's not even called a shout. We say 7 shouts or 5, whatever you want to call it. I don't care.
Seven.
It's whatever. I don't care. The point is that you don't shout per se.
Yeah.
That's like weather kind of shouting. It's not that. It's like an explosion of using your lungs, your stomach. Tanchen if you want, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's a cough.
Yes.
I'd rather call it a cough than a shout.
Yeah.
It's a closed mouth, if anything, cough, and that is called ging.
Yeah.
And you're applying ging to anything that is an explosive external forward energy.
Yeah.
Okay, so you are just, if someone grabs you, you can do exactly the same thing to escape. If someone grabs your wrist and you haven't got the strength to get them off and you want to do a movement, you just cough, bah, and as you do that, immediately do the movement and they will be freer. You'll be looser.
It kind of reverberates through your whole body, doesn't it? When you're
it's a massive extent of energy.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine a weightlifter trying to lift a weight.
Yeah.
It's that.
Yeah.
It's that kind of cough.
Yeah.
Not the.
But guys, it's like
I was in Star Wars with that, don't you?
You Jabba the Hutt, weren't you?
Yeah.
Drinking a big thing of Baileys, right?
Yeah.
The implication you just made there was that it's all to do with this, the ging and not technique.
Yeah.
But you're combining technique with the energy, with the ging.
Well,
to achieve
effort. Yeah,
There you
combine
go,
some effort. But I have to warn people, if they are going to put ging into every single movement in a set, they'd never get through the set.
No.
Because it's quite explosive, it's quite hard, so it's always good to do a set in directions. So when you do a set, you go bam, 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 right the way one direction with the ging, and then turn and face, which is why sometimes when you watch people do martial arts, Chinese martial arts, you'll see them do bam, 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 and then stop and sort of sway a little bit on their leg in their stance, and they'll just sway and ready to go, and then they'll do it again. And it's because if they put that much effort into it, you just. When I did that thing in the 30th anniversary, that Bok King Kong, Jesus Christ, I nearly died.
Oh yeah, right. But I tell you what, but it was such an amazing rendition of a form. I mean, I don't know the form, but for Christ's sake, if you look at it, it's alive, and it's because of all these, that's your accumulated training. It's alive, Mr. Doobie. Well, but it was a really good form, and I'm not just saying that, but it was a great rendition of a form.
No,
if you
Mastio's neighbours said it too when they met me in the car park. Oh, I know. So that's I'm not blowing any trumpets here.
We're like, you're the best.
Yeah.
Anyway, we talked about that actually when we.
And who says he wasn't qualified? He's a doctor.
I tell you, Mr. Newbie, you are unappreciated in your time. You are. Right. Honest to God. Right then, we must press on. We've got another. Oh, excuse me. Sorry, we can't press on. We've just got to very briefly.
Before you go on, I really do. Go on.
It was another part of the question. Sorry, hang on. I'm trying to think now. Fill in. Hang on, let me read this.
Okay, well, I was going to say she did mention the knuckle being called a
there you
stab.
go. That's it. There you go.
And I've said to you in many podcasts, you can't interpret Chinese very easily, and then that goes for Mastiao too. So, when he described it to us, it's like a twist and a thrust, which in effect is a bloody stab. Do you know what I mean? That's why they're called cut and thrust swords, for God's sake.
Yeah.
You know, they're cut and thrust swords.
But-
you either slash with them or stab with them, or, thrust with them, and or you can do both. Cut and thrust sword is to thrust, to stab. It's the same bloody thing. So it's just a play with words in the end. Chinese is difficult to, but for us, he explained that to thrust and twist, like you were stabbing rice into the ground. Like a not bloody little pip, but a proper plant of rice when you're planting a paddy field.
It would be a long
that's
day
how he
if you
described
were
it.
planting a little pip, wouldn't it?
It would. Well, I don't know. You just throw them like at a wedding.
A big thing I notice a lot of people doing in Chop Choi when they're going down onto single kneeling stands. They're rotating the arms. Obviously, creating a bit of power. Certainly, when you go down for the first time, your right hand is kind of making a circular rotationary movement.
And wrists.
And wrists, all the rest of it. Now, a lot of people do that move quite exaggerated sometimes, which, hey, fine. Some moves you do exaggerate, whatever, depending on what you
Depends
use it
on
for.
what stage you're at.
Stage. Now, but however, a lot of people end up doing the strike to the floor, but they end up doing what is essentially a hammer fist. Okay, and if you imagine you're hitting with the bottom of your fist out. Now, that is not a hammer fist, it's a thrust on the floor, but you have to find the moment during the rotation when you can thrust it down, and do you see what I mean?
It's the wrist.
Yeah.
You're doing a rotation with the hand, but people forget that the wrist is rotating in itself with the hand. So it's a loose wrist until it strikes, and it's like knocking on a door with the forefinger knuckle.
Yeah.
The foreknuckle. You're just knocking on the door. Of course, you may well be, because you're going down low. You're trying to avoid the hands and striking, attacking the leg as he's trying to kick you. So you hit.
Sure.
You could be hitting him that way.
Yeah, we did talk about this on
or the foot when it's standing.
we did talk about this. I think on podcast 10 or something. So we won't go too deep into it, but essentially, So in answer to your question,
we can always send you a little video clip or
not a
whatever if you
problem.
need to know,
Not a
just to
problem.
explain.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you got to have something to do during this.
I have,
this
yeah.
lockdown.
I go outside with my cup of tea and I get the kids to hold a video and I go, there you go, do that.
Okay,
and
so
people can agree.
I think that kind of covers that one. Second question. All right. Again, this is from Anon. Thank you, Anon. Hi, Stephen James. I was listening to you talk about being a good attacker on the podcast. I'm a large guy, and when doing the hand blocks, if I can see someone is too close to me, I have to move. Then they follow me, so we're still close, even if I mention to them. So I presume what he's trying to say is that you get too close when you start in the hand block. I'm doing a positive punch, but not trying to take heads off, and I can see that I'm going to hit them almost every time.
That's a good thing.
Okay, sometimes
don't aim at their face, aim at their chest.
Sometimes they're a higher grade than me, but I'm having to slow down my attack so that they can do the block. You got me thinking. From what you said, am I now a bad attacker for slowing down so they can perform the block as I'm trying to help them, or should I just hit them?
Don't help them. Aim at the chest. Do the thing that we talked about before with the palm. Push them rather than punch them, because they'll soon realise that the distance that you can travel is going to, it's a disadvantage to them, so to stand too close to you. And of course, if you are stepping, you're going to take much more range. So, tell them, just step and push them, and then they'll start to move backwards just at the right distance to stop that push being, to sort of dissipate the energy of the push. Then you can start to punch them, and they'll have the capability and timing to be able to divert that with their block, and obviously have a much better stance to do so. What they don't want to be doing is stepping back with the leg too close to the other leg, so that they end up right in front of the punch. They need to be consolidated in a good hip width stance, and the block will naturally be off to the side then, slightly, not totally.
Okay, so in short, you're a bad attacker. Sorry.
Yeah, don't change your attack for anybody. You know, if you want, you've got to see. The thing is, with people who do martial arts, especially beginners at lower grades, they need to prove to themselves that it works. Otherwise, what's the point in them doing it? So, in order for you to prove that it works for you, you've got to see if it works for the other person. So if you attack him as best you possibly can, okay, obviously bearing in mind their capabilities, the quality, their experience and so on. But once they get really good, if you can attack them as well as you can, you will know whether or not that technique works that they're using to defend your punch. If it works, then you'll get, stopped. And if it doesn't work, they'll get hit. It's as simple as that. So the better you do the attack, the better for them and the better for you, because you will become more confident in what you're learning.
Absolutely.
I think that's a simple philosophy.
Yeah,
isn't
absolutely.
It? Yeah.
I think what it's a reason, not necessarily that, but poorly done hand blocks and kick blocks are a reason why people can give, styles that employ hand blocks and kick blocks as a training exercise a bad name. Because you train them
people observe,
and you let's just imagine you got some MMA guy looking in on hand blocks and kick blocks. What's he
that don't work.
That don't work.
Yeah, don't work.
And it's like
don't work.
Right.
It's not meant to work. It's meant to be a vehicle in which to train on.
Yeah.
It's just the same as you stand there and you punch your pad and you go, that don't work because he'd then do this or he'd then do that. Well, you're just practicing a single punch.
Yeah.
It's like anything, shuffling, skipping don't work. You know what I mean? So shut up. Just train. There's lots of different ways you can train. It's just a vehicle.
Yeah.
No one would imagine for a second, and anyone does think that someone's going to throw one punch and you're going to block it and hit them back is crazy. Because it ain't going to happen like that unless they're drunk or unless they're just absolute stupid. But if you're looking at someone who's a decent angry individual, he's not going to stand there and just he's not even going to throw a straight punch. So we train for straight punches because they're the most direct. Once you've got good at that straight punch, you'll be able to see other punches coming because they take a lot longer to develop. So don't kind of sort of confuse yourself with training to fighting. It's not. Too many people do that.
Yeah.
Confuse training with fighting. And of course a lot of people are the people who are actually training. They confuse their ability to fight because they've trained so much. But they don't train the right thing. They don't train to fight. They only train the techniques. Well, any MMA fighter or anyone else for that matter will tell you, if you're just going to train that technique and you never train any fighting, you never gain any fighting experience, and you never actually perform a fight, you're not going to experience, you're not going to know what fighting's like, because it's a psychological thing as well as a physical encounter. It's very psychological. I mean, how many people would stand up against a person who looked really nasty to them, and go, okay, now I've got to knock him down. How many people want to do that? You don't want to do that. The good thing about self-defense is sometimes you don't have that choice. It just happens, and as long as you've trained responsibly and really hard, you have the capability of, or you possibly might have the capability of, we don't know because we don't know you, to be able to suddenly respond. Depending on the target.
Well, it's like I firmly believe that it's the response you cannot, it's the psychological response you cannot train in a class, and what I mean by that, it's expansive, right? So just bear with me, Steve. Because what you're going to say now is, well, the more training you do, the more confident you get with your physicality, the more likely you are to have a response. But what?
Actually, I'm going to go right off on another tangent.
Well,
but go
okay.
on.
But what? Well.
Yeah. No, go on. You carry on. Carry on.
So what you can't train in the class in terms of fighting ability is your psychology during a stressful encounter or confrontation. Some people, right? Some people will buckle. Some people will run. Some people will hide. Some people will fight back. And you will not know what you're made of until that instant. You will not know.
Absolutely.
But I have seen the quietest people that I know, really sort of, timid people, as people on, listen, on the battlefields in Afghanistan turn into warriors, at a flick of a switch. And you don't know who's what. And it's an amazing thing. So, don't worry about it. But hey, sometimes when you're pushed up against the wall, you just fight. You just what the hell?
Yeah. It's down to an individual. Yeah, it really is down to an individual state. Yeah. And I think a lot of people who want to pride themselves with being a fighter who actually have never experienced it and then go up and say, okay, my martial art's better than yours, let's try it out, haven't got a clue what they're talking about. Their martial art might be good, but they are not.
Exactly.
They just haven't got the balls. And when I say ball, I mean the mental capacity. So they suddenly confront someone, and the first couple of moves they suddenly realise they're in deep crap.
Yeah.
So I want you to. I was going to use the analogy of shooting because you've done some pistol shooting in the USA and wherever, and but let's just imagine you're going through one of those courses with the various targets, jumping up and shooting, and you're becoming brilliant at it. And you shoot. Innocent target comes up, don't shoot. Baddie comes up, shoot. Innocent target, don't shoot. Then you get into a real situation where you have to shoot someone for real.
Yeah. Exactly.
Are you capable of it?
Yeah, right.
Do you see?
Yeah.
And or will you just kill the innocent anyway? Who gives a shit? Shouldn't have been there.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. There's playing and there's doing.
Yeah, exactly. And so people can't say martial art is better, that martial art is better. All they can say is the science works or the science doesn't. And in most cases that I've seen in many martial arts, the science just does not work. And it doesn't matter what they call it. It doesn't matter what the name is. Yeah. Often, a lot of that is in the science of, people who decide to do MMA, or they decide to do UFC, or they decide to do, boxing. Their science quite obviously doesn't work. They've tried to train themselves in such a way because they believe their science is better than the next guy's. They come up against them, they're in trouble. And that's with people who've got the attitude to fight. So it's science is extremely important, but of course you've got to be capable of fighting before you even do that. But self-defense, as I say, is a different animal because you don't have to stand in front of someone initially. It's the response you do. So it's far more kinesthetic. It's far more reactive. It's like being a racing driver. You've got to get in the car in the first place. Suddenly, you're confronted by a deadly situation. It's how you respond to it.
Yeah. No, we're not saying you have to be in a fight to validate yourself as a martial artist.
No, we're not saying that at all.
Everybody has a capability. The point I'm trying to make.
But we are
you don't know your capability. The point I was trying to get across was you don't know your own capability until such time happens. But the harder you train, the chances are
more chance you got.
Exactly, the odds are going to be more in your favour. So, but
and particularly with self-defense, which is what the whole thing's about. Nowadays, that's what it's all about. No one trains hard enough today, like they did in the old days, to be capable of doing the things that they would have done in the old days on a battlefield. No one has the mentality and the capability of doing those things. Very few people ever train to that kind of capability. So it's been transformed, and the way it's been transformed is those people who possibly have got that mentality have gone into boxing or into
Oh,
full contact.
They want something that satiates their needs, their
their mental
physical
needs,
and their mental needs. And
Yeah.
when you, like you said, you go into boxing. First thing, you're hitting bags, you're skipping, then you're getting in the ring, you're sparring. It feels real. Now, it's not that it's any less real in studying traditional martial arts, but you think of the scope of things that we have to do. But in the old days, you would have trained like a mofo. You would have been training like a, oh my God. So you would have done everything. But the reality is, and I don't like saying the reality is, but the reality is most people are going to be training 2 hours a week, and then maybe doing a bit of practice in the bathroom mirrors. Yeah, and that's it. And it doesn't work like that. It's not, it's a sort of level of devotion that you have to have, and a mentality and a mindset. Yeah. So
But remember one thing: anybody who's training like that, don't be disheartened by the fact that you haven't got the time to train.
No, don't
the
be.
fact is that if you have got devotion, if you have got dedication to what you do, and you learn the scientific principles, then you eventually can teach those scientific principles. And the person you teach, or the people you teach, one of them may have that capability, that mentality, and you therefore have continued that style the right way, not just make it up and then pretend you're a frigging master, because that is just you're not helping anyone, and you're certainly not helping yourself, because you just end up looking stupid.
Well, no, I certainly wasn't casting aspersions on people training for what little time they
No,
can manage.
I know you weren't. I just wanted to leave let that out there. I wanted to put that out there.
It's absolutely right. I think
we've all struggled to get time to train. We've all had big jobs or family and whatever, and we've tried to keep it up and just to do our best to keep it up. And there's nothing wrong in doing that, but just keep it mental. If you're a waiter, kick the door open as you go into the kitchen.
That is what one of my guys does all the time. One of my
open the door with your wrist.
I tell you what, he'll go. He goes in all these restaurants because he delivers food, and he says, "Oh, I used a harvest hand to open the door the other day." I'm like, "Oh, really?" "Oh, I did a front kick on the door." It's like, so in his head, he's
mentally
training. He's concentrating on it, and it's like the friggin' Mr. Miyagi. He had it right all the time. Wash a car, pretend you're doing a block. There you go. See, so
wipe on, wipe off.
Send the floor. Right then. Okay, we must. Right then. Oh, Mr. Newbie. Oh, I don't know. We have a bit of fun. Don't take it too seriously, guys.
My wife's just bought she collects Barbie dolls. You know that, don't you?
Oh, but they're not Barbie, are they? They're like those dolls.
Oh no, they're all sorts. She's got all sorts. She's got Barbie dolls, but she's just got this new one. It's called the Divorce Barbie, apparently. Yes, interesting. Divorce Barbie. And apparently, the reason it's called Divorce Barbie is because it comes with all the Ken stuff.
Oh, I love it.
That was a bit sexist, that wasn't it? I apologise.
It's all right. Hey, it's our podcast. Oh, we've gone through it all. We've had Jimmy Savile. We've had sexism.
Well, that was my was my counter.
We're not very woke, are we? Oh well.
No.
I say that flipping out. You were woke before there was woke. All your female champions and whatnot. So anyway, right. I want to talk about Back Pie Journ, the 7th set. So I hand it over to you, Mr. Noobs.
Well, we know that the Back Pie Journ used to be after Black Sash because of the previous, as we talked about before, the other set, Ciao So Far, and various other things.
I have a theory. I'm sorry to interrupt at this early stage in your explanation.
Okay.
Was it after Black Sash as well, because it had the Soon Samtoy, the dynamic heart kick?
No, that wasn't the reason. It's just simply the number of sets, that's all.
But I'm sorry, but wasn't the dynamic heart kick, and it sounds very esoteric, people, sorry.
It does, doesn't it? Yeah.
Wasn't the dynamic heart kick moved to after it moved after Black Sash? Even though it's in Back Pie Journ, because it was such a, in quotation marks, deadly technique.
Well, there's so many different. As we've just discussed, a deadly technique is only what people can actually do.
I'm taking the piss, people. I'm taking the. But am I right in saying it was after Black Sash, the kick?
The kick's after Black Sash, yeah. Toy.
Sorry, it used right. Hang on. I've got that all modelled up.
What did you
It
call?
used to be taught before Black Sash, the kick, didn't it?
I don't know.
Yes,
I never did it before.
I think the kick used to be taught before Black Sash, and then
we trained it, but
they removed it and put it after Black Sash because it was deemed to be like a deadly technique or whatever. But even though it's in the 7th set.
Yeah, well, maybe we're talking the 70s there, aren't we?
Yeah, maybe.
If you want to call it a dynamic heart kick.
I'm talking
deadly technique. Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to. Anyway, I interrupted.
Shall I get
you.
on then?
Yeah, sorry, I interrupted you with my news, Chef. Go on then.
Oh yeah. Buck Pigeon. Yeah. Okay. The 8 peaks of Kwantung province, isn't it? Yeah. Buck Pigeon. Yeah. Anyway,
I thought it was Kong Sai.
But
Is that the same thing?
Yeah. Well, I don't know.
It's
I don't care.
Kong Sai province where the temple.
Too late now.
All right, okay, yeah, I know. But wasn't the temple Guiling Temple in Kong Sai province?
I don't know. I don't care.
All right.
I can't remember. James.
All right. I'm just saying.
You can correct that in an edit.
All right then. Right.
Because I really haven't got a clue right now, because my mind is on just the movements of the set.
Yes.
And my attitude about history, because so many people will claim this and claim that and claim the other, and you just go, you know what? I'm closing my ears.
Yes, but don't
talk
forget,
to the hand.
Yes.
Talk to the hand, because it's a bow.
Yeah. We are putting out this podcast in the public domain, and we'll have our critics. God knows there's plenty of critics within certain organisations. But
we are encouraging critics, because we do want to learn ourselves.
Yes, absolutely,
it's encouraging to find out what kind of stuff is out there. So I would like to hear from people who not just ask me questions, but state things. Oh, we do it like this, and then send me a little video and go, we do it like this because, and I'll go, oh, that looks brilliant.
Okay,
I love that.
In the old syllabus VHS, Master Yao says that Lau Gar was taught at the Guiling Temple in Kong Sai province. That is what he says. That's where I got it from.
Doesn't necessarily follow that the 8 peaks are in the same province.
No, I'm not saying it does. I'm just saying that's.
Why are we arguing about it?
I don't know. Shall I just let you get on and shut up? Shall I press my mute button? Go on then, sorry.
So it's really weird, because this set does start with an exercise, and my attitude towards it. I don't like calling them exercises, but of course certain parts of the form, certain parts of the style have to include a certain amount of health exercises. You can't fight if you're not healthy.
You mentioned exercise. That was the alarm going off. It's only an exercise alarm.
Yeah. Oh right, excellent. So glad. Yeah. So it is. That's great. I love that. So it is a point that people often say, oh, this movement is just an exercise, when they don't know what it's for. And unfortunately, there are some parts of forms which are specifically that way inclined, I'm going to say, to stop that damn thing going off. And you'll obviously you do your first movements forwards, but I'm not going to describe them because we haven't got the time to go through every single thing. Pushing backwards, and then we're lifting our hands up together with our leg, and as our knee comes up, you can imagine you're going to protect your groin as you're pushing those hands up. Now, often people use this push up like if someone's strangling you, but if they've got consolidated grip on your neck, there ain't no way on earth you're going to just push your hands up like so, unless you're much bigger than they are. So the idea of doing it is prior to them actually consolidating their hold. So as they go to grab at you, you are then pushing those hands up. The hands part, pushing the hands apart, the other guy's arms apart. You then are doing that little movement where you are rotating the left hand. And if you consider, when you do the set, as I'm speaking, and you lift up your two palms together and then spread them open slightly, and then you're going to turn towards the little finger in around. And if you can imagine, you're just pushing that guy's jaw sideways, the left side of his face, with your left hand, pushing it sideways, the other hand is rotating, and the spear goes straight into that throat. And that's a lovely I love that movement.
Because you're using the hand, that turn, to in effect open up a target, which is
when you're also
and
of course
understand, there's plenty of
that's
other
one of those that's one of those movements that describes, if you move the head, you change the balance.
Yes.
And of course people say, oh, but he's going to do this, going to do that. When someone loses their balance because their head is turned or moved, they find it very difficult to once you've disturbed their balance, to throw anything decent. So it's a really good, which is why people, I guess, naturally hit the face. But if you're twisting his head around like so with the one hand and stabbing him in the neck with the other, I think you can pretty much say it's a good technique.
Is it fair to say that, I don't want to spend too much time on talking about the head, but if you control the head, if you have control of the head, you effectively do control the body, so to speak.
Well, the balance, you will offset the balance, so it's difficult for someone to fight when they are offset balance.
Absolutely.
Because it's more likely they're going to start to fall over or falter. So you're doing that. Then you're going to be, those blocks are repeated from the first set, the second set, that sort of. I always say to people, look, don't think of them as loads of different sets. Think of them as a set that is developing all the way through. So you're using one movement, but then you're going to use the same movement in another later set that is the same movement but used in a different way and for a different reason. And there you are with the two moves. One's pressing down, like as in the first set, the other one is twisting, as in, like your number 6 kick block, that kind of thing. You're doing it there, but it's also in other movements as well.
The talking about, just briefly on the opening of back Paijiu, and a big a little niggle, that a little bit of detail that everybody seems to do. What I see is when they lift the leg up, they'll flick the knee.
Yeah, and you know why they do?
Because they think it's a kick, not a groin guard?
No, because their trousers are too long.
Not that it couldn't be a preparation for a kick, people. I'm just saying, but
I had the same habit.
Yeah.
I had a pair of Mastiao's trousers, Mrs. Zhou made, which were a beautiful, Mandarin uniform. Trousers are fairly, wide. Obviously, they're built traditionally. They got a gusset and everything. And you lift your leg, and just as you lift your leg, you feel the bottom of the leg is just touching underneath your heel. So you give it a kick to flick it away as you do it. And I've seen them people do it so often, and people go, "Oh, is that a kick?" And you go, "No, their trousers are too long." That's the reason people do it.
So just
and
raise
older
the knee
people
up.
particularly where they've got the nice uniforms.
Yeah.
So you're just raising the knee. The toe is actually pointing downwards. Okay, and you're protecting yourself. Then you're going to move in, and as you move in, of course, you can put your foot, consolidate your stance, put it where you want, inside, outside, depending on where their leg is. And so you can press against the knee, or you can just ensure that they don't kick as you're twisting their face. So that's the first move. Then obviously those blocks are double, and then you're going to repeat the spear hand with the upper block this time. The upper block doesn't have to be blocking upwards. It can be striking towards the chin, it can be striking towards the nose, it can be covering their face without even striking, just putting it over their eyes. So think of it as a movement, not as a use in that sense. It's got to be used for lots of different things, so don't think of it just as one use.
Because these blocks, and those people following you who know the set will understand what we're talking about, they're repeated quite a few times. You're coiling up to release
Yes, in both. Yes,
Yeah.
with both of them. Yes.
So you're really twisting those arms.
Yeah, you're
and
really
and
twisting.
there, when you twist and release, there's an example of sort of the ging, if you like, as it comes out, just so to speak.
Yeah, and also when you're changing, when you are doing them and you're moving backwards, if the instructor was look from behind, shouldn't be able to see your elbows.
Right.
Okay, so it's forwards, and and you should not have the elbows to your side, because they're part of the whole forward motion.
Okay. Right. So just moving on. Obviously, we're going to have to generalize a lot about the sit because it's a very complicated thing.
There are specifics that people do wrong.
Yeah.
And that's what I want to generalize on.
So,
but there are lots of things.
Yeah. So another thing I see people do wrong. I mean, you do what's called a threading block, all right, which is a very long.
Threading one leg forward, one hand forward,
yes,
one hand
right,
back. Yeah.
One hand back. And what I see a lot of people doing with this threading block is they interpret it as a swing out to the side. And they really do swing out to the side.
Yeah.
Of course, right. If you were using it to throw someone down, take them and push against their chest, it would be a swing out to the side. But I'm talking about really exaggerated movements here.
Yeah.
Threading block is going forward, right?
Yeah, it's going forwards, but it's threading. It's literally threading. So imagine you're just threading around and forwards. Yes, but you're right. It can be used for lots and lots of different reasons. But the reason I might talk about that is because when people do demonstrations, they make it far longer than it's necessary.
Yes.
So if you imagine the beginning of that movement is very short, and then it continues to the next bit and the next bit and the next bit as your arm starts to elongate and your stance starts to stretch and your arms start to stretch, and of course any point in time from the very beginning of that movement to the massive outstretch has a use.
Yeah.
So it isn't just about I have to get to that point in order to make it complete,
Yeah.
but that at that point where it's that long, that's where it can be a throw. That's where your one leg is much further forward behind their leg, but your left hand is pushing them over. Not necessarily spear at them, but again, you could look at it as a spear. You could look at it as a release because it's coming one direction then rotating as it starts. The other hand is going backwards, so you can imagine it. Someone's kicking you, and the rear hand is actually picking them up as it goes back, and then you're throwing them, so they're actually standing on one leg when you do it. There's bloody hundreds of ways you can use
absolutely. But I mean, the point I think should resonate with people is what you just said then was about when you see it done in the set and it's elongated long, right? Most people think and this is what you've just said, so I'm just going over it again. Most people think that at that point when you're long, if you're like posing or whatever you want to call it, that's where the use is. It's not true. The use of that technique is the very genesis of when you start creating it. Like
I love the way you use all these big words, James.
It's because I watch Star Trek. I swear to God.
Yeah, well, Jesus, the only genesis I know is the one I queued up for.
Dude, I can't dance. Oh, no. Right, and but it's true. In all techniques, like we always say, you have a beginning of the journey itself, and the end of the journey. Most people are going to just focus on the last part of that technique. In this example, pose. Sorry to bore you, Mr. Newbie, but let's move on.
That is exactly what they're doing. They are doing the movements in a much more elongated way when they learn the set, but they shouldn't be doing that by the time they've mastered that set or close to. I don't think anyone will master a set, but I think it's just when they become much more proficient at that form, they have a lot more ideas of which what's useful and what's less useful to them but more useful to someone else. But there's nothing in those sets that isn't useful. You have to find its use.
Let's just very 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 briefly, you're doing a kick and a high block on this opening. Let's do them at the same time, shall we, people? You know what I mean?
We do them at the same time.
Let's skip over that. Let's move to what's another good bit to sort of pick out on people. Steve, what do you reckon?
When we were talking about the second set the other day about that bounce of the wrists,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, we're not
well,
there
it-
yet. We're not there yet.
Oh,
That's
aren't
too,
we?
That's too far in. Hang on. We've got.
I was
we've
looking
got-
forward to that bit.
Oh no, hang on a second. We've got before then. We've got a jump. We've got jumping kick, haven't we? We've got a jumping.
But that's only just before it.
Yeah, but I'm just saying.
Flying front kick.
Flying front
Okay, I can make a couple of points about
Yeah.
a flying front kick
Go for
because
it.
there's a lot of people often that learn this in a later life. They start to do
Hmm.
these sets and they think, shit, I can't jump that high. You don't need to jump high. It's called a flying body kick for a reason. In other words, your foot only has to be about an inch off the floor and you can kick because all you're doing is throwing your body forward and kicking, not kicking from standing position.
Yeah.
So as you step, you don't put the foot on the floor. You're merely almost shuffling along the floor to kick. And I think a good example of that actually is that Jason Crabtree did a set that you liked when he was doing a kick like that, and that's basically what he was doing. And he looked comical to people. I believe people would have looked at that and said, oh, that's a bit comical. He was merely trying to explain, and this, I don't know this because I haven't spoke to him, but I'm going to interpret it. It's a flying body kick. He's shuffling as he kicks.
Yeah.
He's flying as he kicks, but not in a long, exaggerated way, which he probably would have done when he was a lot younger.
Sure.
Do you know what I mean? So he was just, his body was floating along.
Yeah.
His foot was floating along the floor, and he's sticking his foot out. So
Absolutely, yeah. When we're doing the kick itself, with your right hand, you tend to brush your kicking leg, your kicking foot, don't you? Am I right?
What we're doing, the jumping front
Yeah,
kick.
you're doing the front jumping front kick, and
Yeah,
you're
again,
kind of
it's just
brushing.
covering the space,
And just so people can interpret that, oh, what's the use? Well, basically, you're demonstrating, you're aware that there's no space between your foot and the target. If you like,
not foot and the target,
So-
your head and the foot. So the gap between your arm and your leg
that's what I
has
meant.
to be covered.
That's
Yep,
what I meant.
Okay.
But also, you can interpret that hand being thrust out in front. You could interpret that as if you weren't doing a flying body kick, people, you could just be putting that hand in front of someone's face prior to the kick. So but that would also be repeated in the previous set in Lau Gar. But anyway, now we're on to the bit that you would just want to make a point about the wrist on. So you've done the jumping front kick.
Yeah, it's just a repeat of the second set. It's that bounce. So we've done the front kick. We're covering our groin with the right hand. Immediately, we're going to bring that right hand, and from there we're bouncing. So we cover the right hand straight away. We're going to bounce, and as we're bouncing, the arm is higher. So it's more of a upper block. And you know how we really pull the wrist back to strengthen the forearm. The inside of the forearm. Well, when we're doing it with the wrist, all we're doing is merely strengthening the outside of the arm. But we can also. Oh, sorry. Yeah,
You're rustling.
I know. Sorry. I tell you what. If you cut my arms off, I'd be speechless. So basically, you're just going to bounce that wrist out, and it is a block, but it could be a strike with the wrist as well. And then the next thing, of course, is your palm strike. You're going to bring that down, and you're going to do the same as in the first set, which is the harvest hand. So there is a distinct difference between those two things.
Yeah, but it's worth saying that a lot of people interpret that wrist bounce in Backpijern as a forward strike, as in they think in their head, oh, I'm hitting with my wrist to a target in front of me.
Okay, I want to give them a reference then that might help them. Do they think the same in Fei Lung Chi?
Yeah.
Because it's exactly the same, only it's called an elephant's trunk in Fei Lung Chi.
I've seen a lot of people do that wrist strike in Fei Lung Chi exaggerated upwards, but
Yeah, it's up, but it's sideways. It's basically
sideways,
a side block.
That's the key, sideways. But this
is
what
it's a strike to the side. You're striking to the side. You may well be opening a gap on the inside of that arm, so that you can then, because your wrist is bent out, you are now doing palm strike. So, or rotating it and doing the edge of the palm strike. There's a question actually with I think someone mentioned in an email to me, one of the listeners, one of our fans, listeners, we call them, and they did say about doing press-ups on the wrists and so on, which is why they may have believed that they could strike upwards with that wrist. But I did explain that the fingers are then volatile, and the hand is volatile. The wrist is meant to go outwards. You literally, we used to do this a lot, breaking wood, those 9-inch by 9-inch planks of wood that you break in the grading, grading. Used to hold them and break them sideways with the wrist. You can just like strike the wrist. But so that's what it is a sideward wrist motion.
Okay.
But she mentioned that she was doing press-ups, which made her believe that she could do the strike like that. I think that's how I interpret the message anyway. But the reason we're doing wrist press-ups is to overextend that wrist so we can stretch the wrist one way. Then we do palm press-ups to stretch the wrist the other way. And if we do both of those press-ups or push-ups, you now have a very, very flexible wrist from a very stretched bounce of the wrist to a recovery or a countermeasure striking outwards with the palm. So wrist, palm, wrist, palm, wrist, palm, and there's your two overextensions to stretch those wrists. That's what you're doing the push-ups for. I think to overextend. So you've got a much more powerful palm strike.
Yeah, I think it's worth just mentioning to people as well that every time you bend your wrist back, every time you create, that's creating energy. So if you just bend your wrist, you've got now the ability to create power with that palm.
Yes, exactly. That's what it's for.
Yeah.
And that's why you do a strike with the wrist, because it allows you. Remember, when you're doing martial arts, you're not thinking about the movement that you're doing at that time. You're thinking about the following movement.
Yes.
Just the same. The reason you do steps is so that you know where you're going to be standing in the next moment. I mean, you don't just fight for the moment. You must fight for the future because you need to end the fight as quick as possible. So it's a wrist. Loaded wrist is a strike outwards. A palm strike from that loaded wrist is a strike inwards. So you've done two strikes with just a bounce of a wrist, and that's what's making it work. There are. I mean, we discussed the back of the hand with Phelan Chi, the other podcast, and where people keep pulling it back. No, don't pull it back. So, and now of course you've done that. Your palm strike, and now as your palms and you've done your harvest hand. What's the harvest hand going to do? The harvest hand is going to rotate round and become the edge of a palm, and then you're going to cover it completely, rotate that round, do the same thing with the left hand, and then do it again. So you're literally doing sticky hands in effect. It's a really good position, and then
it's a great. If you're following that, it's absolutely.
We can demonstrate it on a video. If anybody wants to write in, I'll go in my garden. I'll get my phone out and I'll just video it and I'll send it you. It's just a simple motion.
Let's just skip those bits. And move on to the what people think of as a strike to the throat with the thumb, but you can also that's a great one. Go on, you go ahead then.
So you're doing the back of the hand. This is where, when you're taking a black sesh grading, you turn into Lau Gar lookup kyun, because you end up doing a palm and then the edge of the palm. So the back of the hand and then the edge of the palm is in Phelan Chi, and then suddenly you get confused because you're worried or you're nervous, and you go back of the hand and then thumb. Well, that's Bok Pai Jern, but then suddenly instead of the thumb, you then do the palm, the side palm, and they cross over. Okay, so the back of the hand and then the thumb, and you ask people, what's that for? And they go, well, the thumb is to the throat, the thumb is to the eyes, the thumb is to that. Well, how come it's so short then? Because it's literally in your fist. It's like making a knuckle, but with your thumb on the outside.
It's very
isn't
short.
it? Sitting on top. So it can't be a strike. It's not a strike. If you want to use it as a strike, why don't you just bloody use your fingers? So it's not a strike, and people misinterpret that. So this is a wonderful thing, because what's happening is, as you do that palm, and you may well have done that palm to the collarbone, when you do the guys, if you do it with your right hand, you're hitting him on the right, what is it? Yeah, right collarbone.
You're doing it again.
I'm hitting myself, and all you're doing is rotating that hand, grabbing his throat in the mouth of your thumb and forefinger, and then you're just squeezing tight that windpipe
Yeah.
And if you squeeze the windpipe tight enough, your fist will look like that,
Yeah.
and his windpipe will look like a straw.
Imagine you're trying to click your fingers, guys, but just using the index finger instead of the middle one. Your thumb and your finger is going together. And
that's a good description.
There you go.
I like that.
There you go. That's why I get the fan mail now, Mr. Newby.
Basically, collarbone, collarbone, grab the throat, squeeze the throat.
Squeeze it.
Yeah. Or as they say, write the theme tune,
sing the theme tune. Right, let's move on to. We're about to turn around. We've done all the rest of it. Blah, 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 blah.
Turn around.
I don't want to listen.
Little bit of claws, block, strike, block,
yeah.
strike.
Let's talk about.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the tiger claws in this, or tiger presses the mountain.
Yeah, tiger presses the mountain. So you need to be. The one's almost as if it's gripping the leg if it's trying to kick you, and you're just squeezing on the thigh, and the other one is just grabbing at the throat. Yeah. Again, another throat thing. And you're doing that slowly and impressively with a long stance from one side to the other. Yeah, it's just a very traditional technique.
But it's more the emphasis that I know you would have taught and have taught me is that we want to make some sort of connection with our thumb and our sort of middle finger to emphasize
make sure the
grab.
thumb always when you're doing a claw.
Yeah.
You can't grab anyone if you have your thumb facing across the way. It's got to be facing towards any one of the two middle fingers.
Yeah.
It's always got to be towards the fingers. If you try to grab your own wrist and you like you were feeling your pulse, pressing it down, it's not going to hurt you. What you got to do is you got to dig it in. Yeah. Yeah. When I say feel your pulse, I say that carefully because you don't feel your pulse with the thumb. Because the thumb has its own heartbeat, so in first aid, of course, you don't actually feel your pulse with your thumb because of that reason. So, but what I'm saying to you is press your thumb in to the center of your wrist, and the fingers on the top of your hand, and you'll feel that your hand goes quite weak, and because you've literally got a claw digging into it. But if you press it to the side and don't dig into it, then that's a very poor claw, and that's what a lot of people do when they're training. They forget to actually use the technique. And there's another example of how doing something in a set can't compute to doing it for real or doing it for a purpose. So,
we'll kind of skip on a bit. Let's talk about the dynamic heart kick. Let's just go all the way forward to there.
Those crane's wings. The crane's wings obviously a double block out, and as they come in, they can grip the hands that they've just blocked. So it's a nice wipe trap. And as you pull those hands, and this is really important as well. Many times it's like the dynamic heart kick, if you want to call it that. You can call it just a bloody front kick if you want to just do it as a.
Yeah, but isn't it called a dynamic heart kick because you're not so much kicking forward, you're kicking upwards. So you imagine the solar plexus.
You are kicking at the solar plexus.
But you're kicking
again,
upward to heel.
I'm not going to tell anyone to kick anyway because and the reason for that not because I'm not trying to argue the fact. I think you're right, but the reason I'm not saying kick there is because you don't know who you're kicking, you don't know what they're doing at the time. So if you just say kick to a specific target, most techniques have to have a specific target, like the grab to the throat I just mentioned, but a kick doesn't and a punch doesn't. So say, punch him in the face. No, I punch him in the above the boob with a single knuckle. Punch him in the collarbone. It hurts a lot more. Punch him in the throat. Bloody stop him.
Plus you're not going to hurt your fist when you do it.
Exactly, exactly. And it's closer target because it isn't so high if you're a shorter guy. So when I say kick, dynamic heart kick, that's fine. So the main thing I'm discussing here is the grip back as you pull back, because I was at a course once in the Blackfish course, and I was
during the war.
I was assisting someone who had the ideology that don't pull the hands all the way back.
To the
just to the waist, just hold him. Well, that means you're losing half your grip, because if you do that, they become very weak. If you pull them back to the wrist and then twist, you've literally got a much more of dynamic grip and kick at the same time, of course. Well, then he was doing that with the dynamic heart kick, in actual fact, so it's the same kind of technique, it's the same technique. And I thought, no, because you may as well say to someone, oh, don't pull your punch all the way back. When they're learning it, they have to start from the beginning and punch all the way to the end, and then pull it all the way to the back. So when you're learning this technique for the first time, you must pull those hands from the grab, crane's wings, then draw back all the way back to the waist, and then tilt them a little bit, because you've actually consolidated your grip. We're doing that, and then of course you're kicking out, and the kick is obviously going to be more powerful because they're coming closer, okay, to a degree. So, and that's why I says to you, I don't want them to kick necessarily in any particular, because if the guy's too close, you're going to end up kicking the groin. It's far better.
Of course.
Otherwise, you're going to end up your knee in your face, aren't you?
Yeah, of course.
So,
but it is in the syllabus. If we're going to just go back to the
if
syllabus,
we do it as a set,
we are. It is called the dynamic heart kick, because in theory, what you're doing is you're kicking with your heel up
to the heart
at an angle underneath the
plexus.
sternum into where the heart is, and I say that in inverted commas, and allegedly
which makes it a
heart.
dangerous kick.
Right.
Which makes it a dangerous technique in theory. So
which is why.
But the thing is, when people say, "Oh, you can," a lot of people teach like this, don't they? They go, "Oh, you can kill someone with this technique. Oh, this technique will kill this person, that and you go, "Wait a minute. How many people have you killed?"
Yeah.
And he goes, no, but I just know it will. Well, no, you don't know it will. You don't know unless you've done it, or you've watched someone with that technique do it. Then you can understand. But anyway, that's by the by.
What we can say is it will if you stand there and kick. If you're like a Dimac master, you'll just get someone to stand there while you improve it.
Yeah. But there's one thing that I want to draw back to, which is slightly before that, and that's these that I will refer to as yoke punches, and people will argue, right? Now, the techniques that's the two fists that are done three times, and they're done three times to the head, and what we will say is always never do them at the same time, always do one slightly before the other, very, very slightly, and the reason for that, left hand invariably is weaker than the right, so you'll hit with the right first, send the face towards the left, and that'll increase the power of the left. Okay, but more importantly, you're using 100% energy of one, 100% energy of the other. If you do them together, it's 50%
absolutely
each, going both ways.
Absolutely, I'm glad you mentioned that. That was a really good point. That.
And the reason I call it yoke punch is because it has exactly the same mechanics as the yoke punch that's coming upwards in Lau Gar Kyun. So it's exactly the same technique. It's just aiming at a different target.
Mr. Newbie, one goes in and one goes up.
Yeah, and
I know, but that's what people say, isn't it?
Well, one goes
and when
up,
it goes down, when you
one
see
goes up.
Them,
I was going to say one goes up to the tricep, which is a great technique if you're swinging, and the other one goes up, or it could go up to the face if you kicked him in the groin, because the back one will be going up to the face if the back kick, when you're swinging that leg up to the groin, he ducks and he comes forward and you smack him in the mouth with the fist. But if you don't do it and it's the front one, and we're going back to Lau Gar Kyun here, it's obviously going to the tricep because you're holding the arm with the one, swinging it up with the other.
I gotta play devil's advocate, Mr. Newbie.
Go for it.
That's it. I just did. That's why I said what I said.
Oh.
I think that you think that I didn't know what I was talking about then.
I hope you know what you're talking about.
You give me a slap otherwise. Right, let's move on, because otherwise we'll end up talking about Lau Gar Kyun.
If you don't know what you're talking about, it's going to be another few pieces of that A5 paper.
I'm sorry. Yeah. Hey, I thought my sword set was reasonable. I think it looked all right.
I loved it. I think it was great. It's just grammar.
Yes, grammar. Anyway, sorry, moving on. Where is that? Axe punches.
Well, we got
axe
pretty
punches.
much.
No, we're on axe punch. I want to just talk about axe punches. After the kick, you got two axe punches. Yeah. What's that about? What are they about?
Well, they're self-explanatory, really. Someone's going to kick you, you're going to block and hit them.
Yeah.
You know, block them with one, with a smacking fist,
Yeah.
you know, against the leg. Are you eating, James, in class?
Yeah. All right. I should mute. Use me mute. Sorry.
Close that mouth when you're eating. Close it.
rebelling.
Close it.
I'm rebelling because you
Yes.
I'm meant to have a good sword set, and you said it was rubbish.
I didn't say that. I never say that to anyone.
I'm kidding you. I'm joking.
Okay, so you're striking down with the one, hammer fist to the leg as he's kicking,
Yeah.
and then striking the thigh with the other. You could be striking anything. Again, I'm not going to give a specific target because it totally depends on the makeup and the size of the person that's fighting and the speed. So it is just two similar, two strikes.
Yeah.
But you know, I really think that people, you know, take an idea that rather than use two techniques at the same time, you always try to slightly delay the second one.
Yeah.
It's like in the butterfly knives when people sort of go, oh, the two cutting. Yes, they are cutting, but if you change your wrists, as I was saying to you the other day, then suddenly one sword now is behind the other, so now you've got a longer blade. So it's that kind of detail that you know, unfortunately people don't get. And
I think a lot of people don't appreciate that detail with you, Mr. Newbie, and I'll be honest with you. And
well, in the past, I know there are a few that haven't.
Yeah, well, but the problem is they never get to the point where it's like they don't believe because. Anyway, I don't want to get into it, but
it's because I'm not going. I am your father.
No.
Yeah,
Right.
that's why. That's the attitude. You know, that's throughout martial arts. That is, if you want to hide behind a facade, I am your father. If you want to hide behind the facade, where is it?
Blockade? Facade?
No,
facade?
Yeah, that's the one.
There you go.
If you want to hide behind one of those, then you know, and be like the master kind of thing, then fine. But that's never been my thing, and I just love the science, and I love the detail, I love argument.
Yeah,
and,
but you know what?
Makes it good.
In all the time that I've trained with you, I've never once called you mate because I never would disrespect you like that.
Right.
But it's true. I don't call you mate.
Yeah,
I call you Steve.
True. I never really thought of that before.
But if I call you mate, that's too casual. You've got to show respect where respect is due, people. Yeah. You know, you got to know your place in the pecking order of things. And, you know. And I know my place, but just so did you never know that? You never know that. I don't.
Well,
because that's too friendly. Like you know, I love you like a dad, but you know that's too friendly. You piss me off like that sometimes.
You should love me like a boyfriend. That would be a bit too friendly.
Hey, it is 2020. You know. Right. Hang on. Where are we now?
I always thought that was just about my vision.
Hang on, we've got to finish. Where are we finished? We've done these axe punches. We've talked about that, and then we finish off with again. Yeah,
we're just slicing down, and then rotating and changing that the other way. I don't know, you know, why they were changed around, but you can say one is male, one is female.
Yeah,
you know, right hand change around, left. Yeah,
I think with those two. The on the first one, the right hand, I interpret it. I move the right fist to the left fist, and then I move the left fist to the right fist. So I'm interpreting different grabs, and you know. Anyway, I'd have to demonstrate that to you, but that's the way I do it. And then we finish off with the single leg stance again. Just
coming up again. That isn't, you know, I wouldn't suggest that that's anything to do with, you know, martial.
So again, what are you saying?
It is just, I know.
What are you saying?
I'm not saying exercise.
You mentioned exercise. What's wrong with you?
But you asked me to say what it wasn't, and I said
you didn't have to say it.
It's not. Yeah, okay. Well, it isn't that. I would say it's more to do with tradition and up like that.
Okay. Well, in that case, then we will finish because we are probably on track for the longest podcast we've done.
Yeah.
But if you know us by now, guys. You either listen to it or you don't. But just if you do like this, give us a like when we post it on Facebook or whatever. Because Wushu posts get more likes than our flipping podcast.
That's terrible, isn't it?
Oh,
we're going to have our Patreon soon, and hopefully some instructional videos from the off. So it'll be right from the beginning movements, right the way through. Very, very intricate detail basics, right? So if you're a black sash and you still don't know what the first movement is for, attention, drawing back the hands, is your opportunity to find out. Because so many people don't know that, and what's a fighting stance for. Please, it's not as simple as you think, but there are so many things that people don't understand. They rush through the garden without smelling the roses.
Do you know what? That's another thing I was going to talk about, fighting stances, but we'll do that for the next one. I wanted to just do some things I noticed. Guys, listen, thank you so much for listening to us drone on. And have a bit of fun. As always, we don't take it too seriously, but we do take pride in what we do. If you enjoyed this podcast, guys, and we'd really, really love you to go over to our Facebook pages, give us a like, and follow us on YouTube, and follow us on Podbean and whatnot. And hey, leave some reviews if you think it's worth it. If you took anything from this, please, just return the favour and just do us
what's that thing on YouTube? What do they do on YouTube when they?
What do I do?
They don't just like it, do they?
Like and
subscribe.
That's it.
We need subscribers, don't we?
Yeah, that's right. On YouTube.
Have you got anything written on there that that they can subscribe to when they watch on a video?
I don't. Oh yeah, there's every time you watch one of our YouTube videos, there's a little button at the bottom right-hand corner, and you just click on it, and you become a subscriber. But
right. Okay.
I mean, the thing is with the YouTube at the moment and the video situation, because we're all in lockdown, it's hard to try and get stuff out other than individual stuff and etc. But we rest assured, guys, we will be adding to the library of vids in time to come. We're actually working on
I went up a mountain today.
Did you?
I went up Knox Mountain today.
All right.
And saw some gophers and stuff like that.
Wow.
But didn't see any snakes. There were signs saying snakes in this area.
Yeah.
So I have to watch out for them in the summer, but not right.
And then make a pair of boots out of them.
Yeah, we got to the top. We found the car park. Now we knew the road went up there, but it was blocked off at the bottom because it's winter still. Yeah. There was a big bar across the road to stop cars going up. But in the summer, you can bloody drive up to the top.
Oh, fantastic!
And we had to walk all the way up. Yeah. But the reason I mention it is because it's a beautiful area where I can do some vids.
Yeah.
Demos. I'd much rather do them outside than inside.
Well, show off.
There's nowhere at the moment anyway. There's nowhere to do them. You can't have a hall, so.
Yeah. We'll show off that beautiful North American scenery.
Yes.
And
yes.
It really is beautiful where you are. Not at all jealous.
Yeah. No, of course.
Right, we've got to go. And again, guys, thank you so much for joining us today. And as always, you have any questions, get in contact with either myself or Steve, and we will be more than happy to accommodate you and try and help you out. Guys, thanks again. Thanks for joining us. You take care of yourselves.
Bye.
Bye now. Bye-bye.
Bye.
I kick your little Beijing ass right now, man. I ain't scared of you. I know you know that little tricky shit. Come on.
Hi guys, thanks so much for joining us on the Kung Fu Podcast. If you like that and you want to find out more about us, you can head over to Facebook, Twitter, Instagram or YouTube and find us under SJN Martial Arts. And also guys, this podcast is available on Podbean and iTunes. So until next time, take care of yourselves and we'll see you again on the Kung Fu Podcast.
Guns. Now why doesn't somebody pull off 45 and bang, settle it? No guns.
yeah, you kept me waiting for 4.5 hours, and do you know what I did in that 4.5 hours?
What did you do?
I got that desperate. I ended up watching David Carradine Shaolin workout. Holy shit! I tell you, it was like, honestly, it's like if you pop an LSD, it must be like that, because I was watching him, and everything from the bloody clothes they were wearing to the shit they were pumping out was just shocking. Like,
take your mic down a little bit, James. It's
sorry.
in the red.
Sorry, is it going in the red?
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
I love David Carradine.
No. Well, you would have loved him on this, because imagine, right? This is the sort of aesthetic, right? It's 1987 when they did this thing, and it was like, imagine if like Thunderbirds, and 2001: A Space Odyssey and Miami Vice all had a love child together, and that love child did kung fu. That is watching that bloody David Carradine thing. It was shocking. But I watched that because
you're still going in the red. You're still going in the red.
Oh, I am in the red. I'm bloody pissed off. I was watching Carradine. Right, hang on. Let me.
Probably just your face, I can see.
Probably.